And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. Most of you out there probably recognize the person that's currently on the screen right now, but those of you that do not know him, I promise you, you are very lucky, and we're definitely in for a very exciting conversation. This is Connor, Rock Pokemon. If you guys are not familiar with him or you don't remember him, he was one of the people I went down to Lee and Hurt Pop Shop with. He was also on a live one time in the past on this channel with myself and Basic Trainer. But with that said, Connor, how's everything going? Anything new for you in the world of Pokemon?
Good, brother. I am just changing my name on Zoom now that I think about it, but things are good in the Pokemon TCG world. Lots of opportunities everywhere I look to spend more money on things I love. So that's always a good and bad thing. Been dabbling continually in all the other TCGs that I like, just because it's been super fun to watch people get excited about tons of other things that I like, especially Weiss Schwartz. So I've been screwing around with that. Obviously, love opening that. But yeah, man, just enjoying some of the new sets that have come out, enjoying some, chasing after some long-term collecting goals. So life is good. How about you?
Uh, same old, same old. I've been doing a lot of little plays here and there. The problem is with grading kind of not, it's not really shut down, right? But it's still $50 tier for PSA, stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's really been slowing down a lot of the things that I've been doing in the past, which a lot of that is just grading my own cards and stuff like that. But I'm definitely acquiring at an almost insane rate right now, preparing myself for when that tier does open up, because I think we're close, right? Because
How we
for
got
a
it?
while, the $50 tier was like the lotto tier. You'd have to go in and maybe you could get it. Then they opened up for everybody. But I think we're going to see another drop, or at least another like lottery tier. And I'm hoping 25 probably will be like 30, maybe.
Yeah, I was guessing maybe 35. I don't know. That would be nice to see. I actually don't have the PSA membership, so
Oh, you
uh,
don't.
no, I don't
That's
have that anymore. So I'm just kind of waiting it out. I actually have, I'm a CGC guy, but I have a stack and I'm just kind of sitting on it because also Beckett just opened up everything with zero notice to anyone, no email, no social media posts. They were just like, the gates are open, but your 2020 bulk is still with us. So send it. It's crazy, man. Like, I don't think they grade cards over there. I swear they will never give me my stuff back. I don't understand.
so I own a few Beckett slabs, but I've never actually graded with Beckett because I never saw it as really being a true option for me. And it's just crazy. Like I've definitely like gone on the website, tried to find their pop reports and stuff like that, and almost had to like pull up a YouTube video literally titled How to Find the Beckett Pop Report. Like I could probably make a video on this channel. It would do well. It would be one of those like long-term videos.
Dude, I tell you, you're right. Cause it's like they basically have two websites. You can't like this paper submission form only. Like when I was growing up, they would be at like card shows and stuff. So I've submitted cards with them in person before. I've sent with them. Last year I was working with, or I guess what years? Yeah. Early last year, I was working with Canto Shark because he was grading with CGC, PSA, and Beckett, and he like lives next to Beckett. So I didn't have
Okay.
to mail it to someone, have them mail somewhere else. But there's cards that are never coming back from there, I swear.
Yeah.
Because I have a couple Weiss cards I really, really want to grade with Beckett, but I just don't want to send cards to Beckett. Uh,
So let me ask you a question because I know we're not going to go into the CGC rant, but I know you're a big CGC guy. But do you value a CGC Perfect 10 over a Black Label, or do you look at them as being comparable, or what? Or Black Label has the premium?
no, Black Label always has the way premium above that. There's
Yeah.
no way, especially because at least for a Black Label, I know like the fully defined scope of the grading scale.
Hmm.
Uh, I have a tough enough time taking PSA 10s and comparing it to pristine versus perfect CGCs, honestly.
Sure.
And I think it just depends if you're talking about vintage or like if we're talking about Pokemon vintage or modern, or in the middle. But yeah, I've never owned a Black Label. I've never hit a Black Label. I don't. I've never been attracted to paying the premium to get it, no matter at what point in history it's been. I don't know. But no, there's no way. Like, it's just, we're not there yet. Need way more time for that to even be a consideration. Because I think what happens is grading cards mature, or grading companies mature. They go through phases, they change their standards, they've all done it. And you need some like longer tenure to really get an idea of how those are going to be comparable.
No, I think that's a good point though. Yeah. But, so you come from a more financial background and everything, but have you been watching, like, obviously you're busy doing a lot of other stuff, but have you been watching the Pokemon market closely? And I don't know if we want to bring this into more like a bigger macro type conversation of like the world's economy and all that, but do you think all of that's playing a role right now?
So, I mean, I always keep a pulse on the market. I have a lot of saved searches that exist only to monitor prices and how much supply is coming online of certain things. I'm very interested to watch the trophy card slew and a few other cards that are on Heritage right now, among other places, play out. Because I think what people forget is like really like that top end of the market is really, I think, in a lot of ways, the indicator for the long term, because you'll see things get dragged, at least on an upward trajectory, because you'll see stuff get dragged up by the high end. The high end might suffer less when the market drops, but I think it's kind of like, I don't want to use that term like tide rises all boats, but it has this effect, right? Because you start to get headlines, you start to get social momentum, right, from a awareness standpoint on what's happening in the market. So I'm very curious how those cards end up selling. Plus, it's just wild to see. I mean, to get that many price data points at once. But that also worries me too, because when I'm trying to understand where the market's going, right? And if we're saying, am I trying to establish what I think the high end of the market is doing? There's only so much money that can run after so many of those cards at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that gets me about this is I'm like, why would you
not trickle these out?
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's just like, I'll give you an example. I mean, this is a way more lower end, but I've seen some like higher end ish, like PWCC auctions where, they're cards that are going to reach over four figures, so over $1,000 plus in PSA 10. And I'll see two cards. And again, is $1,000 a lot when we're talking like these big time trophy cards? No, but in Pokemon, once you get to that $1,000 plus, like the pool of cards drastically gets so much smaller opposed to Pokemon is in the huge grand scheme of it. And I've seen a few cards that I'm like, okay, this card will probably fetch like $2,500. And there's another card also selling in the same auction block. And literally the cert number is one number off, meaning they were from the same seller. They were part of the same graded submission. It's like, dude, you have a high-end PSA 10 card that you're probably more likely than not going to have any competition for that card during that auction. Why would you be your own competition? And that's even on a high end. And so that's a lower end compared to the trophy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even like to do that. Like if I have two of anything, I don't like to unload them at the same time. I don't even like, like how you usually do like a listing with two and you might show both cert numbers and let them pick. Like I don't want to do that. Like I even on a low end card, it just, and it's supply control, right? I mean,
even when I have a card like that, I'll start to like really look at both of them, even if they're 10s. I'm like, all right, this 10 is a slightly stronger, so this will be the second auction, like this. And again, that now we're just getting in, and this is the funny part, right? Like we start getting into the super semantics of PSA 10s. It's like, this is a 10, but this is a 10, but this one's a little bit weak.
CGC when you have subgrades and one has like one half grade slightly more than the other, or it's like quad 9.5s or something, like things people like, it's just such a freaking game. But
I always think the quad 9.5 argument's weird. It's like, would you rather have three 9.5s and a 10, or would you rather have 9.5s across the board? Like the 10 subgrade is clearly higher than the three 9.5s, but like people love like that beautiful looking 9.5 and then 9.5 across, you know?
Yeah, it's the redeeming quality of a 9.5 is having those sequential 9.5s. But yeah, PWCC, speaking of, has been interesting. So I'm bidding on two cards right now, and I like hadn't been paying attention. And the one's gonna set like an all-time high. And I'm like, there's no way I'm paying this for this card. And the other one's like kind of in a moderate area of what I'm like comfortable with.
And what are these for though?
They're Japanese vintage. So
Okay.
I mean, I don't care.
No, I didn't know which. Okay, the Japanese vintage market.
Yeah, Japanese vintage. So I've always had a long-term goal, and it got a little screwed up because of the boom, but so did everything else, of collecting. Do I have one handy? 1996 Bandai in a 9 or above, right? So the whole set, which is basically 151 with some prism cards in there, and then there's like the map cards. And the one with Charizard on it is on PWCC right now, and it's gonna set an all-time high, I think. It's like already going for more than twice what the last one went for. And I get the pops are low, but people are making really weird decisions right now, and I can't figure it out.
Yeah. There's a couple things I've been following, but this is the same thing, right? It's like some shit sells for way too much, and then some stuff sells for way too little. I'm watching a couple things right now that I almost like thought I like discovered it, because it was selling for so low, getting so close to the end of the auction. But then even in my head, I'm like, no, there's no way, right? Like there's no way that I could be discovering anything on this auction block at this point, unless you're basic trainer and you find like the one Pikachu, My Little Pony card, and this channel managed to shill that thing to the freaking moon. You're welcome, basic trainer, if you're out there watching this.
He's at isn't he at Collecticon? I saw a picture of him wearing it on a chain. Did that happen?
That's great.
God, so classic.
You got it. You have any plans to go to a Collecticon in the near future?
I'm going to Denver, so that one's been locked in. I would love to live out west, so I like extended the timeline for it. It's good timing for me with work kind of after September ends. So
yeah, so that's end of October, right?
Mid end of October. So I'm stoked about that one. There's gonna be Swami lives out there, and there's gonna be a lot of cool people at that one, I think. So
yeah. So I'm at about a 20% chance of going to that one.
So
and
you're telling me there's a chance.
It's just tough. Like it's not like the ticket. It's the hardest part is just being away from home.
Yeah.
Like when me and you were down in the pop-up shop, like I flew in that night. I got to my hotel at like 8 p.m. before the event, and I flew out at 6 a.m. the following day after the event. So we still had the whole day at the event, but like 6 a.m. the next morning, I was hurting, I'm like, I don't want to fly out right now.
Yeah, I get it, man. I have the luxury right now of kind of being able to do whatever I want. I'm in control of my business, so I can kind of do whatever I want there from a travel standpoint within reason.
Mm-hmm.
I am single with no kids, no animals. Like it's, as long as my family's good, like my mom, my grandma, and my brother, like I kind of do whatever. So won't always be like that. So I'm kind of milking it for all it's worth, but
yeah,
see what you can do, man. You never know, but I get it. You gotta get
it. Like you were saying with people going to Denver, everybody I've talked to, there's a lot of people that seems to be going to that one. So
yeah. Plus,
I don't know if it's just like a good time of year, maybe.
Awesome time of year to be out there. Yeah. The fall in the mountains, it's unreal. It's going to be amazing. So it's one of my favorite times of year and one of the best places in the world, or at least in this country. So
yeah. So for anybody out there watching this, might not be familiar with Rock Pokemon, might not be subscribed to his channel, I promise you guys, and I mean this, you are definitely missing out on a lot of great content. I know Connor has I think a pretty spicy video maybe coming out later or tomorrow. But if you guys aren't subscribed, do me a favor. All you got to do real quick, hit the pause button of this video. In the description of this video below, you'll see a link to both his YouTube channel. And if you want to reach out to him on IG, also a link to his Instagram is in the description below. Just pause this video, give him a quick subscribe, hop right back here, put it in 2x speed, and you'll be caught up. But you want to talk? I mean, just give us a little bit of a sneak preview on what tomorrow's video is going to be on your channel.
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of CGC grading returns lately, and not like doing my typical whiteboard or showing my face videos, just because I've been busy with a lot of stuff, and those have been, you know, fun. I had a lot of cards churning back for me and other people middlemaning. So tomorrow's going to be a discussion around. It's at its core, it's really around why modern speculating on modern sealed product might play out differently than most people think. I think that this kind of goes for everything, and it's a good kind of like I guess case study for it. Is people are very, very bad at understanding risk. I have come to find that through working in the investment field. And that's why people would hire people like me, because they were very bad at understanding both their appetite for risk and their capacity for downturn and risk. So I think it's like basically it's a video about, you know, how I think some things could play out for folks, but them understanding like what all the inherent risks are to get from here to there. When it comes to speculating on modern, just because it's been something that's, you know, this whole vintage versus modern, a lot of people throwing investing around. Like, I am no genius. Like, I'm not that smart. Actually, I just kind of like work hard, and I've gotten very lucky in my career. I've done well. I really enjoyed, you know, working in the finance field. And to be frank, like, there are no other financial professionals in the YouTube space. Like, granted, I'm a washed out ex-financial advisor now, but you know, there are no other people in the space that have, like, I guess, some of the hard skills I have. There's plenty of people who know tons about the economy and about the stock market who aren't professionals. I mean, you look at Jake, he's absorbed, you know, a ton of information from his time in the market and with his father and things like that. But I think I do give a unique perspective because I've worked so much with people at all kind of stacks of like the wealth spectrum, right? I've worked with my friends who got a $10,000 in a Roth IRA, and I've worked with someone who's got, you know, $1 billion in net worth, right? And everything in between. So
are you saying to not buy high and sell low? Is that what you're saying? Because I think a lot of people out there would tell you you're wrong. You should buy high, sell low, or buy high, panic sell.
Oh my God. I mean, it's even beyond that. Is like, people don't, even if they buy low, they have no concept of time horizon.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big problem, is like, people don't really understand what their holding period is going to be for something, why they're buying it, why they should or shouldn't be buying it. Like, you look today, right? Like, if you're 25 years old and you've got good cash flow from a job, and, you know, you've built up some money in the bank, maybe you have some savings, maybe have some investments, you look at like where global stock markets are today. I'm like, I don't really care if it goes down another 5, 10, 20% tomorrow, because it, like, in the long term, you're still going to look like a genius. It's still going to work out great for you. It's all about like that consistent, just plug your nose and buy. And then if it goes down, buy more. Like,
yeah, you're just talking time weight average though. That's all you're.
Yeah. Well, it's
buying all markets, and eventually, but that's like the retirement, you know, that's the investment thought of it though.
Yeah.
I think where you run into the issue in Pokemon is, what's probably a good way to put it, would just be opportunity cost. I think that would be the big thing, right? It's just like opportunity cost, like, what are you buying? What are you selling? And I'll tell you what, the one thing that always amazes me more than anything else in this hobby is how many times I've had people ask me questions of like, how do I sell a certain card? And I'm always amazed at the dollar amount that that card is worth. And I'm always like, whoa, 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 whoa. You own this, but you don't know how to sell this. It's almost like, whoa.
Yeah, and I alluded to a little bit of that in the video. It's like people again, and I've gone back and I've done videos on this and we talk about it ad nauseum, and people want to pretend it doesn't happen. All of the frictional costs involved in buying and selling in this hobby, the people who make the most killing are the people who make a cut of every transaction.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, when you think about like what's like the best businesses going on right now in this space, it's definitely like that consignment business, man.
Yeah, it's
like
consignment,
CNG,
it's like whatnot.
TCA, Scott Pratt, like those guys are just you can't lose, right? But at the same time, it's well, what did you do? You have to build it up, you have to gain the reputation, you have to do all this stuff. And even, like Nick Old School Pokemon, he's getting into the consignment business and stuff. And I would probably wouldn't like move out of those guys though, to be honest with you. Like I would stick with those four that I just named. I probably would not move out of those at all.
Yeah. People have like consigned with me, which I like think is funny because I have a following, but I'm nobody. And it's literally free money. It's amazing. I'm like, actually, this is part of the video coincidentally, which we didn't really talk about, but it is about that, I don't want to give the whole thing away, but it's a lot about like, you have to learn that monetization of things in this hobby largely comes through building trust relationships and to an extent a following. To do it in the most efficient manner, right? To get the largest returns. Because not everyone can just sell stuff on eBay at the hype and have that always happen, right? Like this is a long
time in the highs of highs and the lows of lows. It's like Godspeed, my friend.
So yeah, it is. It's super interesting. The consignment business is, especially now with the 1099K changes, people are going to be looking for a way where they can just offload a bunch of stuff to someone and not have to worry about it.
I think that's what PWCC's really got going for, but I've heard whispers, but zero confirmation on this that like PWCC is going to roll out like 1099s to people. And I'm like,
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, if that happens, it's like thoughts and prayers for PWCC. They are done. Like they just sprung that.
I wish I had a concept of how much bid volume they're doing over there, because I think a lot of things fall through the cracks there on the weekly auctions. Like I think there's more, obviously, the stuff I picked up in that first, whenever it was last October or whatever, that first auction block, the monthly.
Dude, I got destroyed on that. I had 81 items in that auction.
You were the seller. I was the buyer. It's about the only time in the past 2 years where the buyer has been at the advantage.
Dude, I was the buyer in a lot of those too, though. Once I recognized what was going on, I was like, well, I'm going to buy up all the things that aren't mine.
Absolute nightmare. Hey, there's Steve. Steve's consigned stuff with me. He's in the chat. What up? He's the best.
It's funny. Matt, we got Matt in the chat. He said he thinks you're wrong. Modern at the floor will do better than stocks over 5 years.
You're
there? I thought you were frozen. No, I think you were just really thinking about. I was
deciding how to not sound like a complete asshole when I say I just would not.
Why you think about it?
Oh,
I will answer it again. While people say I am not pro-modern, I am very pro-modern. Yeah. So I actually will bring it in. I think modern's going to do very good, but I think it's the huge caveat, and it's the thing I've talked about so many times on my channel and other lives. I've literally made videos talking about this exact subject, that it's when you talk about modern, when you talk about investing in Pokemon, you got to be talking about like actual items, sorry.
Yeah.
Like mini portfolios are not going to perform the same as booster boxes.
No.
Dragonite V boxes are not going to perform the same as Pokemon Center ETBs. But, it's like when you talk about modern, you can't, it's almost impossible. Or when you start going into the single market, right? It's like, are some of these VMAXs of the Pokemon that you're not even sure what set that VMAX came from? Like, is that raw card going to outperform it? When you start talking about modern, you really have to be super specific at what are you actually talking about? What products are you talking about? Trust me, all products do not perform the same. Like, I'll give you an example. We already talked about mini portfolios. Battle Styles mini portfolios, I'm pretty sure MSRP at $4.99.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck. But when you look at a Battle Styles booster box for $75, I think you have pretty high upside on that. Mini portfolio at $4.99. It's the same set, right? They're just different products, but one's going to perform way different than the other. So I think you have to talk about products, and you can't just say modern, because then somebody will say Battle Styles mini portfolio is modern, Battle Styles booster box are the same, right? And it's like, no, they're different. I promise you. Like 36 mini portfolios at $5 a piece, that's $180 versus the $75 booster box. They're different.
Yeah,
I promise you, they're different.
Very different. I mean, and that goes part of that becomes this conversation of how people have been talking about modern and where they've been really cherry picking and not talking about if you have been just buying everything over the last 2 years, depending evenly, you're not necessarily winning because there's a lot of things that have gotten, crushed. Right. So it's just binary speculation on a lot of this stuff. Right. And I don't know, here, do the numbers. Let me get a blank piece of paper. So if you buy a box for $100 and then you hold it for 3 years, I didn't do this in my video, but it's kind of what I was driving at. And let's say it goes to 150, right? So you made 50%, you made $50. That's a gross of 14 and a half annualized, right? But then you're going to pay if it's not cash, keyword, not cash, and you're not breaking it, keyword, not breaking it, you're going to pay $10 to ship it. You're going to pay $20 in fees. That's going to bring you down to 120 on a $100 box, which is 20%, which is 6% annualized, maybe. If inflation's 3%, cut that in half. Whoopee! Did it move the needle for you, or could you have and it's also in what context? What is that? And what about on a risk adjusted basis? What about all the idiots who bought, Battle Styles at whatever, and now it's at 75? And how much did they?
So Battle Styles, the highest I saw was 160. That was the highest I saw. I don't know if anybody else out there saw higher, but that was the highest I personally saw.
Even if it was 125, and
that was on the first wave, it was crazy. Some pre-order, pre-release prices was whoa.
It's people don't understand that the bell curve is different for speculating on this stuff, because the risk profile is just not the same as traditional investing. I hate talking about this in this context, because I don't think in any capacity it's like apples and rocks. I do not think people do not know how to estimate risk. They do not know how to estimate timelines. They don't know how to exit and enter. You cannot tell. And yes, Pokemon is this where knowledge can give you an edge type of market, right? Because a little bit of more knowledge than someone else goes a pretty long way in such a very
Connor, the riches are in the niches in Pokemon. I said this so many times now. The riches are in the niches. If you know where to look, you'll do fine.
Yeah.
But if you don't know where to look, you're going to probably struggle for some of this stuff.
Yeah. And it's how you monetize it, right? I think I'll just get into it because it's going to be in the video tomorrow anyway. And I don't know who will watch whatever, but like, I think people betting. Okay. All right. So you know this because you've been in the hobby a long time too. But let's call it like from 2010 to, I don't know, evolutions. What did most
What was the starting set? I'm sorry.
like, I don't know, somewhere in the 2010, 2012 range.
So
right?
let's just say black and white.
Yeah, black and white
base. That'll be easy.
Black and white base. From there to evolutions. Or let's say to 2015, pre Pokemon Go, pre evolutions. Didn't really do much, right? In the way of appreciation.
Yeah, but you only are looking at a 4-year window at that point.
Right. No, good.
Yes. From 2011 to 2015, that's 4-year window. And this is the thing about black and white. For anybody out there who might be rejoining the hobby now, is black and white, like we all talk about booster boxes now and everything, but like booster boxes in 2012 and 13 and 14 were, you didn't have the people buying them the way you do now. Exactly. So the thing about black and white was very similar to the way we see like evolutions packs pre 2020, where it was just in every single product. And black and white packs were very similar, where black and white packs were spread out through a lot of different products. And I've always talked about this, like Plasma Blast. Dude, I remember Plasma Blast being in everything. Like every tin I bought had a freaking Plasma Blast pack in it. Like the same way people were sick of seeing Crimson Invasion and Steam Siege and Evolutions today. It was the same way everybody felt about Plasma Blast, man. That shit was in everything. But then, and like Neo Destinies too. That's a great example. Like I still to this day think Neo Destiny was potentially the most heavily printed black and white set. And then Emergent Powers was the same way. It was like you would skip products that have Emergent Powers in it because actually you'd probably skip a lot of products with black and white. Like, Dragons Exalted, maybe, you look at a set like that, you're like, okay, like you'll have some fun chase cards in that. And this is getting out of all the playability aspect of all this stuff, where now you're just doing more on the collectability aspect.
Right. So. But I'm weak on like, cause I didn't really like that stuff that much. So I didn't buy much of it, but I was like I was here and there and, I was in college and whatever. So, but the difference between that and then people are extrapolating like the past 5 to 6 years where we've had undulations and things went, dead for a little bit there in that like 2016 and 2018 area, right? When Evo kind of fell flat at one point, but like the demand and the popularity and momentum of Pokemon was tremendous, right? It was a different group of catalysts and people look at them, they're like, well, that's the same exact catalysts that are going to happen now, right? And I just do not think that is the case. I think that when people are buying Modern to speculate on with the assumption that it's going to appreciate, 50% over 3 years, total, not annualized, they are forgetting that the past pre-COVID, 10, but let's say that same small period were some of the best years for the average consumer in a long, long time in this country. Very strong economics, very, very low interest rates, very high levels of disposable income, very easy money everywhere, ability to borrow, ability to, get loans at very low rates for very low, covenants, basically meaning you can borrow with not a great credit score and get a really great rate. So there was just a lot of liquidity everywhere, liquidity. And I think what people forget is we have no idea how the next 5 to 10 years are going to play out as far as what the consumer is going to look like. And the consumer is what drives this whole hobby. This is all based on disposable income. And then to an extent, really bad leveraging that I really hate to see people do, but people do it, right? People do a lot of stupid stuff on credit.
I've heard the horror stories of some people who like leverage credit cards and
it's buried.
what the fuck, man? Like, what were
The
you
stories that Jake
buying?
tells of people who have messaged him. I mean, even me, I know people who have messaged me and the amount they've told me like what they make like hourly and what they've spent on Pokemon in like 6 months. And like, this was last year. And I was like, excuse me? Like, why? Like,
Yeah.
and so why I'm saying this is that I think what people have to realize is that they're really betting on a different monetization profile of modern sealed product. And I think a lot of it is going to have to do with breaker culture. And in that, I think a lot, even more of it is to what I said earlier, which is you are betting on yourself in a lot of way to be able to garner a following and a social presence that allows you to monetize your product. Because I only envision fees on traditional exchanges going up. I only envision tax regulations and other regulations and frictional costs going up, because the more a space comes into the public eye, the more people want to take a cut of every transaction and figure out how to do that. Right. And so,
well, they've already been talking about that, like the tax on trades, right? Like what you're alluding to is, like stock trades and stuff like that. And the government's already trying to like potentially tax like the blockchain.
oh yeah, or like unrealized gains and things like that. Yeah. I mean, it's how do we think that the government's going to pay for everything they've been doing? It's the same reason the 1099K changes happened. Like
or double taxing too, in a way where you're taxing unrealized gains, but then on the back end you're still going to tax it on a short term versus long term play. So you just get in double tax on a lot of this stuff.
Or what if you get taxed on unrealized gains on crypto and then it goes off a cliff at the beginning of the next year? It's stupidity, but it's like people don't realize, like, why did the 1099K rules change? Well, the 1099K rules change, which if anyone doesn't know, there were certain thresholds you had to hit on like an eBay, for example, to be issued a 1099K.
20K.
Yeah, it was 20K and 10,000 transactions or whatever, something like this. Now it's $600 bar none, where you receive a form that you have to file and pay your taxes on. You should always pay your taxes though.
But the thing about that is people are just going to get a tax bill and they're just going to pay it, and they're not going to know how to do the write-offs.
They're going to get a penalty. They're not going to do their tax. Middle America is going to get screwed because they have no financial literacy, which is something I'm hugely passionate about, and no access to the right tools at the right cost for them to know that really they would only owe $2.37 in taxes. But when the IRS sends them hey, you owe us, you screwed up your taxes, here's $150 fee to make it go away, they'll just pay that. And that's how the government makes money on this, because it's not about the taxation. It's about screwing people because they don't know what they're doing. And the whole reason this happened, y'all, is because they floated all this helicopter money out there, and then they had to figure out a way how they were going to pay for it, because that 1099K rule, that change was part of one of the COVID relief bills. So don't get it twisted. It's all connected. Like and all that.
This is where I want to challenge you a little bit on that. Yeah. So I've had this conversation in the past. Now, when you talk about like, it's like stimulus money and stuff, like you had to be under a threshold, and under the threshold, I believe, was like 75,000 for individual, 150,000 for, married couple filing jointly.
What was that for? I'm sorry. I was
like 150,000. Like that was in order to be eligible for like the stimulus relief packages, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this is my argument is some of the sales I saw in Pokemon, at least the stuff I was watching, the prices stuff we're selling at, the cards that we're selling, I'm like, yeah. The guy buying this card, there's no way he's getting $1,000, $1,500 stimulus package. No way.
Maybe some child tax credits, but no stimmy checks. Yeah.
So I do challenge that to a degree where I think that might be overinflated or maybe like blown out of a proportion a little bit. While I do think that there is definitely like certain people on that spectrum who were definitely like spending stimulus check money on Pokemon. No, I don't think it was as drastic as maybe people say, at least on the high end.
I think it's more that the consumer was in a great space going into COVID, and there was a lot of built. I mean, if you look at the charts of how much credit facility was available and how much cash was on the average household's balance sheet, and then we went into COVID and no one was doing, excuse me, but shit. They were looking for something to do and something to spend money on. And that's how the higher end starts to move as well. I mean, there's just a lot of liquidity.
What do you think rise in interest rates will affect? Do you think that will have a trickle down effect on the market, or?
I mean, I think it comes down to like how that affects the average consumer in this hobby, right? Now, I'm not, I think it actually could have an interesting effect, right? Where you've got kids with 100,000 in student loans that they're trying to pay off. So they're not really in any position to be taking on more debt to buy like a home, for instance. So they might end up in a lot of these build to rent communities, which are becoming massively popular and being bought up by all the biggest players in real estate. So from like how it affects the consumer in the Pokemon hobby, I mean, yeah.
I think we're not there yet. So when you look at like interest rates, stuff like this, especially on like the house market, like historically, interest rates even now are not great.
Joe, they're so low. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, yeah. I meant like, yeah, they're not like bad, is what I meant to say.
Yeah,
like
I know.
historically, interest rates are way up here, Like
inflation,
we went from, in the last year's time or 2 years timeline, we went from the most historic lows of lows, like I want to say like 15-year mortgages dropped to like 2% or between 2 and 2.5%, right around that area.
Mhm.
That is the lowest in the history of mortgages, like you're talking about the lowest point in history. So now when things creep up to like 4, whatever they're at now for a 15-year mortgage, it's like
maybe higher.
Where does 4% mortgage interest rates, lie in the history of mortgage rates? It's like, well, if you go back to the 80s, it was 18%. And it's like 18% is a lot. But then you got the huge caveat, right? It's like,
yeah,
that's when you talk to your grandma and she's like, you should put your money in a savings account. And it's like, no, grandma, I'm not going to put it in a 0.03% savings account.
Crypto only.
Your grandma remembers the 80s when she was getting a 9% return on her savings account. Or you'll hear your grandma be like, you should really get a CD. And it's like, CD rates are not a thing anymore. But like in the 80s, that was probably like a good place to park your money for 10 months or whatever,
I remember I bought a CD once when I was like 15.
Yeah. It's so funny to think about, investment avenues back then, but that's all about rates, right? Because CD rates in the 80s were higher because all the other rates were higher. Savings accounts were higher because of all that. So historically, I think we're still in a good spot.
You always have to look on a real basis, right? Versus, rates versus inflation and all of these things. DNA makes a good point. Like it's probably more about credit, right? It's about how much leveraging credit is going to cost someone if they have a floating rate, like a credit card, right? Where that rate will change. But I think it's more about how really does the Fed navigate the inflation picture? Because that dictates a lot of things, right? We saw it this week with a freaking bear market rally, right? Where people start to think the Fed kind of knows what they're doing and everyone gets like a little less scared and a little more risk on. And that like trickles out into everything, right? So, but the important thing is like, how does the Federal Reserve try to meet their inflation targets over the long term?
It's hard, right?
How does that affect the
consumer? They're printing money, man. That's how they're meeting it. They're printing.
Money machine go burr.
Money machine go burr. Exactly. Like that's how they're doing it right now.
And so it's how does that affect everyday people who have to, and people talk about gas and I'm like, guys, come on, like, please stop. And this better than everyone, but like people do not understand the intersection of commodity cycles and inflation. And we're not going to get into it. And
well, the thing about commodity cycles is everybody thinks that commodity cycles are like that. It takes a while for commodities to play out. And I always tell people like, they're wrong. Commodities are super hyper, like sensitive to current market sentiment. Like people don't think that commodities are. They're like, no, like it takes a while for like pipelines to shut down and all this stuff. I'm like, listen, I came from the oil field. Like I know how much oil is out there. Like this is the only thing I know. It's like the market is super sensitive to like, like things that shouldn't affect it. Like you have upstream, downstream when it comes to oil. Like it's got to be pumped out of the ground. It's got to be shipped. It's got to be refined. It has to make it to terminals, to trucks, all the way to your gas station, to your car. Like you think that's the long line from coming out of the ground to being refined to getting to your car. And it's like, no, the market is super like, oh, this happened, war happened, bam, price goes up overnight. It's like, that's not how this works.
Yeah, but it's honestly more about a lot of times in like acute changes. It's more about like the infrastructure, like there being an outage or a downage in pipelines and what trucking all that fuel, for example, has as a cost. But that's just like we saw that last year, but like it's not really, people miss the big picture of what's actually happening here. So no, I wonder, I continue to believe the world is in a really weird place. I again go back to my previous comment of if you're young with a long-term view, you're, not talking about Pokemon, you are buying assets, right? You are buying investment assets, but the world's a really uncertain place right now. We've come out of one of the weirdest places we've ever been in the past, probably 50 years. And there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear, but sometimes I wonder if I'm too close to it and like how actually the average person who doesn't know jack about investments or the market really thinks about it, other than they know when they walk into the grocery store, at least right now, things are more expensive than they were a year ago. It costs them more money to travel on Memorial Day weekend because gas is higher. But like, how do they really think about that? It's like, it goes to that like consumer sentiment, understanding.
Yeah. This Pokemon chat really went off the rails, huh?
Off the rails, baby.
I no, but for anybody out there who made it through all that, the reason why I want to have Connor on is because Connor does have a financial background. He is a CFO for a company. Like he understands market nuances, investments, and when I have a guest on, I definitely want to talk to them about their strengths and get an understanding, because that's one thing I try to do on this channel, right? Is bring on people constantly who have different thoughts, different theories, different perspectives. And somebody will watch this video and look at this as just being like, the market's crashing. Look, Pokeknowledge is doing it again. And it's like, no, I'm bringing people on and listening to different thoughts. The same way as Connor could come on today and be a little bit more bearish on the overall investability, especially when it comes to more of the modern side. Tomorrow, I could also flip side it and bring somebody who's extremely bullish. So this is the thing. If you've made it to this point in this video, I hope and I pray you can at least understand that there is a difference and that it's important to hear all sides of an argument, whether you agree with them or not. And I would say if you disagree with an argument, that's when it's most important that you at least listen to the other side, whether or not you agree with it or not. Because if you're not at least doing that, you're probably setting yourself up for failure, whether you know it or not. And like, I don't agree with everything Connor says, but like, I do enjoy having this more macro conversation because I do believe it has a place in this hobby, especially, and I've talked about it before in the past, when you get into the niches of the niches, and when you get a guy with, who's as smart as Connor, it's very important we listen.
Appreciate that. Well, it just like thought-provoking conversation, I think, is always good for progress, right? And if you start to think more critically about some of these things, you can start to think more critically. I mean, it goes back about the Pokemon hobby, right? And you start to understand, like for example, identifying that we were in a bubble was not that difficult for anyone who had invested in traditional markets or had a frame of reference of seeing and studying previous bubbles in all sorts of asset classes, right? So like that's like one example, but really it's just like this is what this hobby is about. It's like having great conversations and doing thought-provoking things and then tying that back to how we collect. Like I think a lot of prices in Pokemon right now are stabilizing into really interesting price points to enter if you want to collect, for example, right? Like it's what it goes back to what I said at the beginning. Like there are a lot of things that I still continually want to buy right now because I think the prices are good. Like there are a lot of opportunities, more than there have been in a long time. You just have to be, it's just like understanding the downside, right? And why you're buying it and how much you're willing to risk on that item to have something on your shelf, right? And that's what I think about a lot. Ooh.
So I just wanted to share. I just typed in, is Pokemon in a bubble? When people are like, people weren't talking about Pokemon being in a bubble. It's like, no, this is a just bubble. Oh, we got Rudy. Bubble. Oh, look, there's me. This is a video I made a year ago. I have no clue what this is about, by the way, too. Pokemon is not in a bubble. It's something else. And I don't know what I wrote. I wrote Pokemon is not in a bubble, or at least in the traditional sense. I think there's a lot of money flooding into the Pokemon hobby. That was a year ago. So the truth of like all these are bubble talks. So look, Pokenav.
Barf.
Yeah, he definitely did not say we were in a bubble. But like all these are just bubble. And look at all the names. SM Pratt, Squeaks. Like there was a lot of people making videos on talking. Oh, look, Pokemon chat. Oh, this is the live.
No.
But yeah,
going back, that's the thing. The best part is like a lot of those like were like a year ago, right? Like they were last.
We're talking about it a while ago. Yeah. Like this didn't sneak up on people.
But shit hit the fan way before that. Like,
oh yeah.
It's just psychology is really funny, right? It's just so DNA goes only CGC is in a bubble. All right, Ancient Mew did a super chat, so we better address it.
What did it say? So Ancient Mew said, PK, if I gave myself a budget of $400 a month for the hobby, what's the top things you'd recommend to get? Sealed or singles? Love the channel's progress, man. And one day he'll be on here with you. So it's funny. I also got an email that I was going to read during this, which was very similar. But somebody had pretty much said that his wife gave him $100 gift card, and she pretty much said, like, you're probably just going to go buy Pokemon cards with that. But let's see if you could take this $100 and turn it into 180. And in the email, the guy was like, maybe it would be like a good video topic for you. So this is the thing. A budget of $400 in this hobby, I think, is very, very easy to make that into money. The only problem is it definitely, for me personally, involves grading, and it involves taking raw cards, grading those cards, and then selling the graded cards of that raw card. Now, I think if you took $400 and bought sealed product, I think there's a lot of products I'm thinking of on the top of my head you can do well in, but it would be not as easily liquidable, if that makes sense. Like be more speculative plays, but like $400, I would say you buy $200 worth of raw cards, keep the other $200 so that you could at least grade 4 of those at $50 and then rinse and repeat. But the problem you're going to run into is turnaround times, man. Turnaround times, even at 3 months. And I've actually had this conversation internally before where I've thought about how much money do I have out there currently in plays that I won't see returns for a while. How many people out there, even watching this video, have PSA bulk returns from January or February they haven't got back yet from 2021?
Me.
Dude, but like that is, and the cards that are in that submission, even in a raw price, still you could equate value to it, right? That's doing nothing for you for over a year. So that's the problem with that question, is the 400. It's like, dude, you could corner the market on some shit you don't even think you could corner the market on. Like you can buy out black and white hollows, not full arts, hollows from TCG Player, buy out every single one of them for under $3. You know, buy out the market, buy 30 of them at $3 a piece. That brings you to like $90. You only need one of those to hit a 10, you know, because the market is so freaking irrational when it comes to some shit, you know? It's like the market is stupid. But maybe that was a horrible example. Don't go buy black and white print quality hollows. That's a whole video.
You
Or
should
full arts.
you should just buy two $400 items for $200 each and then sell them both for $400 immediately. Very simple. Or in more practical terms, go buy a $200 Japanese vintage pack for $130 on auction and then break it on your Instagram for $200 and rinse and repeat. Like, go buy stuff under market on auction, buy collections, but that's such a generic answer.
Yeah. Go buy a Japanese stamp box for $200. Spend $100 to grade both the Pikachu stamp promo card and the Cramorant promo card. Grade them both for $50 each. That's $100, and sell both of those things in a buy it now auction for $1,000 for two PSA 10s. Like, do that.
The amount of those that hit the market and are gobbled up every single day. That's one of my saved searches. And
but why though? Why don't you buy that freaking thing yourself and do it yourself? Just do it. If you're going to spend $1,000 on that card, you can literally pick up 5 of those collection boxes and then find the best of the 5 cards to submit for grading yourself and just have your own PA. Those cards grade pretty easy.
People aren't like us though. People just, they want, like, they buy like one item every 3 months and that's the one item they want. And so they just buy it on auction or do the bin and get the pair for their collection and they call it. Like, because people don't think about extrapolating value out of things the way you and I do. Like, oh my God, like, I'm sorry. And like, I'm going to tell everyone point blank here, like, you probably shouldn't be buying CGC graded VMAX Climax character rares from me for like $125 when I paid nothing for the card and I paid $23.50 a card to grade them at CGC. Like, it's so much, and like, I'm cool with it because like I'll keep all of them and be happy because I love them. But like, the amount of sales I've done of those recently is actually insane. It's just like, but some people just people just want one thing for their collection. They just want it. It's indiscriminate. It's the same.
I've talked about it on this channel before. The Reds Pikachu, the 20th anniversary promo card. I have arguably, in my experience in Pokemon, have never run across a card that was easier to grade than that card. Meaning, for the most part, all those cards are very easy grades. You can pick those, for a time, you could pick those cards up for very cheap. I want to say, even on the high end now, those cards probably sell between, I don't want to be quoted on this, but between $25 and $35. I want to say in a PSA 10, they still sell for like $100. You know,
people don't realize, like, if you can freaking hit even a double on a card, like to buy the card, grade it, and then sell it, you know, let's say gross a double or even, you know, net a 1.5x. And you do that 10, 20, 50 times. I mean, that's real money. I mean, the volume I've done in this hobby this year, this far, is baffling to me, given where we've been. And as you know, the freaking, how the market was then and the sales that we were making then. And now I'm very surprised at the amount of churn I still do now. Maybe
a lot of Pokemon, a lot of Pokemon more on the short term, what that question was, right? It was HMU said, $400 budget for a month in the hobby. What's the top things you'd recommend? I mean, a month is not a long time. You're talking 30 days. A lot of Pokemon like invest in, you want to call it, in a sense, is like turning and burning, right?
I'd buy these. Let's say they're not these. Let's say this is VMAX Climax, but let's say it's Battle Region or whatever the newest set from Japan is, right? Let's say you got $400, right? And these are, let's say you can get them for shipped $50 a box. Then you break them all for an average of 80 to 85 a box gross, and you do it over and over and over again. But the only way you're going to do that is if you've built a following and can monetize it. And that's not scummy, because you still have the lowest price on the market for people to get 2 of these packs and pull one of the freaking cards they want. It's and I know how you feel about breaking. I freaking want to throw up at Whatnot every day. So I get it.
It's the Black Star promo argument all over again, right? Like Black Star promos, it's like just grade them and then slowly trickle them on the market and always have it. So last one remaining,
It's so ironic.
What was that?
Or Ancient Muse. That's why it's so ironic, because that's his name. And that's what freaking, what's his face did. Oh my God. Him and Jake had the podcast for a while.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Rusty TCA Gaming watches some of these. Dude, that guy's graded more Black Star promos of more different cards but like, that's the thing. It's like, he doesn't do it in a crazy way. Like, his prices are very low. Like, and you just do that over. Yeah, there you go. Bumblebee Pikachu, number 27, Black Star promo. Like, the number 27 Black Star promo is one of the most produced cards ever.
Radar graded like half the population of 9s with CGC of this card.
Because they all bought it from the same person, too.
Yeah, I know. Stupidity.
Yeah.
But it goes down to, demand, right? Like, I don't know. Cards there, it always surprises you right on the face how cards sell, like Birthday Pikachu, like the original vintage. Like
that card always had an expensive price.
Yes, the demand is just always so extreme. Yeah, Mason, rainy day collectibles, and I forget the other guy. But anyway, it's and the same thing's happening with those stamp promo cards right now, right? Is that the demand is just so great.
Dude, even in super modern times, the EV for a Celebrations ETB, if you had the balls and you needed the balls to grade those cards at 150 a piece, the EV on a Celebrations,
10x.
It was 10x, but this was a caveat. You needed to be the guy that was like, I'm going to send these cards at 150 a piece. And when you start to like weed out the people that are willing to actually do that, like, I'm not that guy. But I watch the sales of those. Still to this day, like the price of Green Ninja Gold Stars and PSA 10s is like borderline make believe, almost to the fact where you're like, every single one of these recent sales has to be fake. There's no way a Green Ninja Gold Star promo from Elite Trainer Box could possibly be selling for this much money, but they are. But this is as temporary as a thing as you can get, right? Because I'll promise you, when the $50 grading tier drops and it hopefully PSA gets to 10, the amount of those Green Ninja Gold Stars that will be graded will be very similar to Champions Path Charizards and very similar to, your stained glass bird trios from Hidden Fates. It's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, the bottom falls out. But it's just amazing how history continues to repeat itself. And I think that just comes down to, there's always going to be indiscriminate, uneducated buyers in this hobby, no matter what, no matter how much of this thought and speaking and discussion goes out there into the world. This is a huge IP and a huge hobby. And dude, some guy who just wants to buy his kid a birthday gift is just going to go on eBay and buy it. It's that same like Christmas gift effect idea, right? Now, maybe that's not as like broad based, but that's just an example of just disposable income going out into the hobby, and no one cares.
But this is the thing, Connor, is when you think about it that way, like in the lifetime of this video, maybe we'll get between 1,000 to 2,000 viewers, and that's after the last viewer watch this video. Maybe it's between that 1,000 to 2,000, and that's after a couple weeks or whatever.
Mhm.
When you look at 1,000 to 2,000 people in this hobby, and then you look at Pokemon as the grand scheme, I always talk about it. I talked about it as recently as I think my last live, and I'm kind of coming to the conclusion that Pokemon is just this pyramid, right? It's a pyramid, and there's the people at the top, and people down below on the pyramid, they make money. Like, it's not just the people at the top. The next level makes money, and the next level. But as you get deep enough down that pyramid, like, people make less and less and less until you make it to like, and I promise you right now, if anybody out there is watching a YouTube investment channel on Pokemon, even on like the worst type of investment channels, they're still not at the base of that pyramid. They're still way, way up in that pyramid. And then you got to work your way to the top, but they're probably in the middle.
Yeah.
When you get to the bottom, and I talked about this on my last live, like there's a thing on Reddit, a page called Pokemon TCG. And one of the people's posts was they had a non-hollow rare, and they had the reverse hollow of the same card, and they were asking if they had something special. And it's like, I promise you, we got 60 people watching this video right now. All 60 people know what a reverse hollow is. Like, but you still have people out there that don't know that. And I like to read that Reddit page because it gives me a little bit of a reality check once in a while, because a lot of these people will open up like a collection box or an ETB or booster box, and they'll show all their hits and they'll say, did I make money on this? And I don't obviously type in the comments, but like, how do you, as a person who doesn't know much about Pokemon, open up a booster box and wonder if you made money on a Astral Radiance booster box? It's like, dude, first of all, we need to have a long conversation,
Yeah. It's that, like, whenever someone, it doesn't matter what space it is, like, hears that there's get rich quick or make money, or that money is somehow related to it, that somehow there's a value and they can get more value or less value by doing something. And that, like, we see it time and time again in hobbies where, it just like, that's what starts to go through people's minds, and that's just one part of that base, right? Because there's like, my friend sending me pictures of her daughter holding a Pokemon card, and I'm like, she looks so happy. Don't tell her that's a fake Morpeko card. Like,
Don't tell them, yeah.
Don't tell them, because they're so happy. Like, there is just
well, and it's even like Rattle made that video talking about the fake stamps. Now, there was one of the cards that he showed off was a Mewtwo first edition. Now, this is where you get into that weird caveat, because the cards themselves are actually real, like, meaning they were real shadowless cards, but the first edition stamps were put on after the fact. So, like, that's when you start even diving deeper down the rabbit hole, and then grading card companies like AGS was grading those cards and stuff. And it's like, somebody will see a graded slab and not question if that card's real or not at all.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but this is the thing, like that Mewtwo that he showed, which I watched that video live when he was doing it. And I wrote in the comment, I was like, dude, that Mewtwo is terrible. And then like afterwards, he was talking about like how bad it was. But when you, like, this is the thing, right? For me, for maybe you, for maybe most of the people out there, I see Mason's in the chat. Mason's dealt with a lot of cards, and Mason knows more than anybody. We talked about this before we went live. Like, every single bind, that all right, that's an exaggeration, but I have come across binder collections where I've bought in the past, and it always has like one or two random fake cards thrown in, but not enough to like detract from the binder collection, but it's always like one or two. And Mason's probably seen more fake cards come in with binder collection, and but the bulk of the collection is real. Now, we could identify that. We could identify a fake first edition stamp, which is just slightly off, like again. And Connor, I talked about this in my last video, and this is something I've had to come into the realization from. I used to say that we were in the 10% of this hobby. And then I moved to, okay, maybe we're in the 1%. And then now, once you go deep enough into the niches of the niches, I'm like, all right, we're the 0.1%. Like, I mean, how many people can you walk up to and you show them a first edition stamp, and then they pick up that card and they went, dude, this is a real card, but this first edition stamp is like 1 millimeter off.
Yeah.
I think you got a fake first edition stamp, like you got to really just, this is what I'm coming to the realization of.
Yeah. There's ridiculous. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's
just run with that for a second. I'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was just going to show, like, it had me thinking like some of these Bondi cards, right? Like on the back, like no one's going to know this. Like down at the bottom, it says made in Japan, right? Made in Japan. And there's a lot of these out there, many of them graded by PSA, that don't say made in Japan. And they were probably maybe real ones made in China or fake ones made in China. But how far, I mean, half the time people are going to buy this card, they're not even going to look at the back. There might not even be a picture of the back on the listing. I mean, it's just like, there is such a chasm between us in this chat and like the hobby. And it's actually like, it's kind of hilarious when you think about how much mental effort we spent on it. But I'm just showing maybe fake, maybe not fake Japanese cards. So,
what do you got?
Well, this one's real, but you know how many fake like Bondi cards that PSA is graded? Because like on the back, it says made in Japan, and then
made in Japan or not made in Japan. But even that is an argument within the, again.
Oh yeah,
we're going into the niches of niches. Are the made in Japan stamps actually real, or are they not? Because people are like, no, they're still actually real. They're just like different print runs.
Exactly. Yeah, they were real, but they were made in a different country, but they're still real. Yeah, it's like in that. It's like, but I was saying like, someone will buy that on eBay. There might not even be a picture of the back on
they don't even care either.
Dude, oh my God, I still can't, but like, I don't get that. Like no one, people just, send it, whatever the card is, looks fine, great. But then you get other people who like ask so many questions that they're just never going to buy the card.
True.
Like, there's a happy medium, like I'm selling that Skyridge Gary, and I had some kid message me, and I sent like 20 photos and 5 videos. And he's like, so is there a vertical print line? I'm like, you're just not going to buy this. It's fine. It's so interesting how people's psychology plays into how they spend money on this hobby and how comfortable or uncomfortable they are with certain price points. Especially now, because so many people are just like, the average person is priced out of some vintage items that they want, even with such a significant retrace, So
Connor, Rattle said, is there still an argument when PSA is paying out on them after his video? So maybe those are not real.
Wait, what?
If they're not real, they're good quality fakes.
Which ones?
I don't know. I'm thinking either the ones you're talking about with the no Japanese and made in Japan or Japan stamps, or if he's talking about the fake first edition stamps.
It's funny, man.
If Rattle's out there listening, I want to know though, can you clear up that first edition stamp where at least you could bring it back to a good shadowless card, because I would hate for that card to just like be lost forever now.
No, especially
like it's still a nice shadowless card. I wonder if you could rub it off to the point where it's still like a good card.
I prefer shadowless to first edition, actually. I just like the way.
Okay, so this will be a kind of a segue, but for a while I had like a pretty decent graded first, or not first edition, but a graded base set collection. And a lot of it was first edition. And what I ended up doing was every single card that was not part of my personal collection, I ended up just selling off. So now I have still my original collection, but it's all like super low grade stuff. And I found out that I'm happier now having that collection than going after what I was doing, because once again, first edition PSA 10s for a while like went crazy. They were like $300 a piece for commons, uncommons. It just went stupid. So I liquidated all those, and now I'm only have like my original collection growing up, and I'm so much happier. And a lot of people don't like authentic grades. There's like a part of me wants to just grade all 102 of them. Well, maybe not 102. The 16 hollows I'll probably keep with grades, but like 17 to 102, I was thinking about just grading them all authentic, put them in my collection slabbed, because they're all my childhood cards. But now when it comes to sets that I didn't collect as a kid, but I'm still chasing after, it's funny because I don't chase after those cards in light play condition. I chase after all those cards in only near mint. So it is this weird conversation where it's like, well, my childhood cards, I'm very happy with them being in played condition, but all the stuff I'm now chasing, I wouldn't touch that condition. Is that weird?
No, I don't think so. Cause it's like, I'll give you an example. My buddy who I work with brought in, when he moved to Rochester to work for us, he brought in a box of all his old cards from when he was a kid. And I got so much joy out of like handling those cards and looking at them. He gave me, like, I have one on my desk. It's a first edition Butterfree. It's like funny because
is it the D era Butterfree?
No, it's not a D era. Immediately I was like, is it D era? No.
It's not the
D. And so
again, the niches of the niches, right? We're like,
God.
does that one look like a D?
Yeah, it's but it's like, I think it just comes down to like the true pure joy of enjoying the hobby and what we get out of it, and why it's so sentimental to us to have those like childhood cards. Like I have a binder full of my childhood Harry Potter WotC cards, for example. Like, but if I'm collecting them now, it's the same thing. I want them in, high grades. But I think that just comes down to like a little bit of psychology on our part of what we're going after, right? And what comes down to like what we value spending money on, right? Like we don't want to at this point in time be buying heavy played whatever, but we would rather pay more money, but on a value standpoint, get it in a PSA 9 slab and put it on our desk. You know what I mean? And maybe it's because we collect differently too. Like, I don't know how. I mean, obviously Rattle's in the chat and he's the crack 'em, put him in a binder guy. I have binders. I love my binders, but I'm probably much more a sealed and slab collector than a binder collector. Usually what I do is like, I actually have like I think it's totally normal to your question. I think the way I do it is like, for example, I have Gym Challenge, Japanese, full set in 9 or higher, graded all the hollows, right? So there's 16 hollows. Mm-hmm. Then I just have a binder set of whatever condition, like just because I like to flip through the binder, as long as like really just that the front's not effed up, right? It could be heavy play, but it's like because the back is creased, right? So like that's how I think about it. For me is like, I want certain cards in certain grades, but just to enjoy like that vintage set, I don't really care what quality it is, as long, or condition it is, as long as like I can enjoy the artwork and kind of.
And yeah, it's weird. Like I definitely find myself doing what you're doing, and like that's the thing where we talk about the investability of Pokemon, and it's kind of like in a way like almost a moot point when you're a collector first and an investor second. I promise you, everybody out there watching this, 100% transparency. there has definitely been some purchases I have made in the past, which were definitely like collector focused, like I think I talked about it very recently. Like one of the crazier, stupider things I do is I buy, single pack blister art collections, not the packs, not the blisters, or not the check lane blisters, just the single blister. And then somebody let me know in the chat that there was 5 arts for Astro Radiance blisters.
Mhm.
I didn't even know. I bought 4 of them. I literally went, I looked at them, held them in my hand. I saw 4 of them. I was like, okay, I got 4, and I walked away. I didn't even look for a 5th one. Like, I don't know some of this stuff, It's like, sorry, I didn't keep up to date with Astro Radiance, like pack art. I just thought there was 4. But like I do things that are not financially like beneficial. But then I've talked about this in the past. Like anyone who ever did that pre 2020 was all rewarded in 2020.
That's what it is. It's house money, right?
Yeah.
So I can
It's
go.
like you had to really fuck up, really fuck up to do poorly pre 2020 and then have it trickle over post 2020. Like
pretty much like it almost an impossibility. But yeah, there's like I look around, I don't know. There's like recent stuff I bought them. It's like,
well, you cracked a Mysterious Mountain pack, right?
I didn't open one, but I cracked it out of a
Of a
PS.
slab.
Yeah. I got that during that October auction.
Do you still have that?
Yeah. The pack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for anybody out there who doesn't know what Mysterious Mountain is, all Mysterious Mountain is the equivalent of Skyridge, but for Japanese. Okay, yeah. So you still got the label.
Label PSA 9. Now it's in a silver GT case because I think it just looks great.
Do you have any Skyridge for the English version?
Packs or cards?
Packs.
No, I would really love Skyridge and a legendary collection pack. Those are 2 English packs I wish I had.
So I saw that you recently picked up the Gyarados from Skyridge Hollow. Now,
yeah, I'm selling that.
So that's my number 2 favorite, or no, I would say maybe, yeah, probably number 2 favorite. So obviously the Shining Gyarados is probably my favorite Gyarados artwork, but that's probably my number 2. And if anybody's not familiar with the Skyridge Gyarados, he's like coming out of the flames. Like there's like flames behind him. It's pretty awesome. But you just picked up that card, right?
I did. I traded a CGC Perfect 10 25th anniversary Japanese Venusaur.
And that's how you got it?
Straight up.
Wow.
I felt pretty good about that.
I was just going to say, like, I don't want to like throw somebody under the bus, but like
big time player too. I mean, a big time player.
You just wanted that card, huh?
I don't know if I think maybe he just because it went to his came from a PWCC vault. Mine went to the PWCC vault. Maybe it went to auction. I forgot to check. But I felt real good about that because I bought that Venusaur for $25 and I graded it for $23.50.
And you got a couple $100 card.
Skyridge card that I can sell for probably $700. So and it's weird because I'm a huge Gyarados is my favorite Pokemon. I don't love that card.
Oh, that's it. All right, we're ending this chat. Thanks.
Now it's over. I honestly, this one, I got this Poke Dreamer made this for free. It was really cool, but I much prefer
the Flareon from Skyridge. Yeah.
So I sold my PSA 9 Japanese one and I got the
English.
Yeah. I love that card so much. Yeah. I mean, I love Skyridge. What I have picked up lately is a handful of heavy Japanese expedition packs. So probably
very underrated for a while. Heavy expedition packs for a decent amount of time were extremely undervalued for value.
On the English side?
Yeah, English size. But you're talking Japanese though, but
yeah. But there's just so many good hollows in that set. So I mean Skyridge has like arguably the better soup to nuts cards, but man, I tell you, there are
Dude,
so many freaking good holos.
Expedition, Aquapolis, Skyridge,
It's
like,
just stupid. They're all so good. It's not
and
fair.
the crazy thing is it doesn't really.
DNA.
There's a block of like a decade where you could just name hollows and they're like good. And like one of the sets we talk about on this channel all the time.
Good. The
What was
freaking
that?
Magikarps from those sets are amazing. Like
Uncommons, commons, like, but even going into, and I talk about this all the time, like, I think we talked about this on the podcast with Cool Train Orion and Rattle, which if any of you guys haven't watched that, I definitely recommend you guys go watch that. That's like going to be a monthly podcast. Our next podcast is now scheduled for June 17th. It's going to be another premiere right after Rattle's Friday night premiere. But so just go directly into that live. But I always talk about like unseen forces. Like, I am so sad that unseen forces is so tarnished by those gold stars being, so readily available, because unseen forces as a set would arguably be one of the best Nintendo sets out there. When you look at the hollows in that, like, there's the Jolteon and the, I know we have a lot of Umbreon fans out there, but the Espeon in that set, the Espeon is just like, that's S tier artwork, like hardcore unseen forces, hollows, fantastic. It's just sad. It's a sad story.
I picked up this is the card I didn't have recently, that it's one of my favorite E-series artworks. Is the Executor from Wind from the Sea.
Yep,
I think one of the all-time great artworks from that set. It's stupid how good the detail is on these sets. Like, it just, I wonder if we'll ever get any sort of evolutions type set for whether it's the Neo sets or some of the e-reader sets. Like, will we ever get a pullback or a nod to that? I mean, 25th anniversary, the promo set, what the hell? Like, I get why the cards were in there, I get it, but it's like there were so many things they could have nodded to that they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't do any of the crystal cards. I think that was the big thing, that celebration. And when you're talking about 25th anniversary, talk about celebrations, right? So yeah, like that was the big thing that was missing. We'll definitely get a Neo Evolutions type reprint. This is a thing. I've talked about it before. Pokemon has so much stuff they could do. It's freaking.
It's crazy. Oh, here's my
scary. You want to talk about Pokemon at any point has their finger on this imaginary button where it's like, do you want to make money? We hit this button. It's like, and the way they hit that button is, yeah, it's like, how far back do you want to go with the reprint button? And it's like, we have this nuclear warhead that if we drop this at any point, we can make all the money.
So here's what I think is going to happen. I was listening to your last video today, and there was one thing I wanted to talk about, and I totally forgot what it was. But the other thing was when you were talking about special delivery Charizard.
Mm-hmm.
I am thinking what they might do is, the reason it might be delayed is maybe they're trying to do something with the US Postal Service and do some sort of release with stamps and with the card as well, or at least at the same time. Not necessarily that the card would be disseminated through that, but they've started to do nods back to things they did in the past. Like, they've started to do a lot of interesting things. So, and obviously they did the stamps in Japan, which I have the stamps. They're awesome. They're
I do too. Well, yeah, I have them. Yeah. And that just happened too. The Japanese stamps.
Yeah.
Like in the last year.
Tinfoil hat or
tinfoil. I like a good tinfoil hat. I won't rule it out.
You never know. That would be really cool. So
be interesting. So you said Booyah said, this is interesting. Invest in anything that starts with the letter P. James from Z&G said it during the Mania. So this is I don't know if you saw that they're finally making a Pichu card again.
Yes.
I had no clue that a Pichu card hasn't come out in the last, I want to say like 12 or 13 years. Like it was like a huge long gap from like, because I think of Pichu as, like the Neo Genesis Pichu, right? Like I don't think of it as being like a card that didn't have a lot of, but I guess there was only like 13 or 14 variations of Pichus ever made.
Yeah.
I
Something
had
like that.
no clue about that. I always thought that there was a lot of them.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to remember too, because we just got Togepi. And I was trying to remember, it's been a while, I think, since we've had a Togepi card, but it's not like Pichu. I mean, that was ridiculous.
What's your favorite Togepi artwork? So this I don't. This is gonna be a stretch, right?
Okay.
So it's not an actual Togepi card.
Okay.
It's the Light Jolteon
Yeah.
with his arms crossed with the Togepi in it.
And the rat-ta-tat-ta-ta back there too.
See, all right, guys, we didn't have this planned. We
Not
just
planned.
happens to have the
Arms
Light
length at all
Jolteon.
times.
But that's my favorite Togepi artwork, believe it or not. And he's not even like the main character of that card.
There's a rift that's off the wall. This thing is gorgeous. It's a
Dude, that is awesome.
painted canvas. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's one more Pokemon too. You want to show everyone who it is?
What's that?
There's one more Pokemon in that, right?
Oh yeah, rat-ta-tat-ta-ta, baby.
Oh yeah.
It's gorgeous. So
So who made you that?
Jenna, she's from Canada. Her Instagram handle is JV something. Let me see real quick.
Dude, I swear to God, for everybody out there watching this, I didn't know he was just gonna pull a freaking Light Jolteon artwork off the wall.
So Jenna is I'll drop her Instagram handle in the chat. She is an amazing artist.
It's pretty awesome though. That is definitely, so that's my favorite Togepi artwork, but that's ridiculous
awesome.
that you just pulled that off the wall.
So this
You
card,
got good taste, Connor.
hey, appreciate you, buddy. So this card is not necessarily my favorite artwork, but I think it's timely. So this is number 66 in the 98 Bandai set. And why it's timely is because this is a peel away prism card.
Yeah.
So the same thing they're doing with the Ditto and the Pokemon Go set, it's a nod back to, this era where there were several prisms in these sets where you peeled it and it revealed the prism card. So it was like, I think it was Misty with like the egg on her knees or something, and then you peeled it and it became this. So, but I think that or the Neo Genesis, I might as well pull that off the wall too. Like this one is phenomenal. This is just like a screen print, like a poster.
Yeah.
I love this artwork. It reminds me of being in the woods during the fall. Like it's just.
So that's your favorite Pokemon is Togepi?
No, it's my second favorite. Gyarados, then Togepi. So Gen 1, Gen 2. So
yeah. You should try to get that girl to do this artwork. The Shining Gyarados where he's coming out of the water.
Yeah.
But the guy in the boat isn't a guy, it's Togepi in the boat.
Oh my God. And it's just like
and the Togepi's doing what that guy's doing. Or
someone with scared Togepi. Oh no, the Mewtwo jumbo card with scared Pikachu in the background? It would be like that except Togepi. I don't think I have it.
I can't think of what card you're talking about.
It's really cool. It's a old Koro jumbo. It's
okay, hold on. I know exactly what you're talking about. Give me a second. My brain's working. So that jumbo card is, I know exactly which one you're talking about. Scott Pratt showcased that one time, that card. I know. Yeah, I know exactly what card you're talking about.
I really like the Koro jumbos. They're just like, it's hard to have a lot of them. I have a couple of really cool ones that I like, but dude, that would be hilarious. I actually have that right here. I have a mat and it's Shining Gyarados with the guy in the boat and then Shining Magikarp behind the guy in the boat. It's funny.
That's awesome.
I love that card. That's Shining Magikarp. Just, do you own the Japanese versions?
I don't own a lot of Japanese cards.
Yeah, I know you don't. Just the way they did those, the way, like, I can never capture it correctly on the screen, I don't think, but if you ever held one in person of the Japanese shining,
Dude, I've held most of everything. Yeah.
yeah, just I'm never going to capture it on the screen, but the way that like dotted hollow,
We don't shill Japanese on this channel, Connor.
yeah,
I know what you're talking about though. It is a shame that
it's wild.
English got shafted.
Yeah. Shafted on every pack art too, but you know, that ain't none of my business.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I have a small Togepi collection, but yeah, it's gotta be Neo Genesis or the Light Jolteon. There's some really cool old Japanese. I have a bunch of like Meiji and Top Sun and Cardass and like all that stuff. Cardass really for Togepi, but there's such fun artworks for that card.
All right, real quick.
Yes.
Right now, we got 61 people watching this. Listen, guys, I mentioned this early in the video. I'm going to mention again in case you, for whatever reason, didn't do it or you're watching this after the fact. If you're not subscribed to Connor, I'm telling you right now, you guys are making a mistake. And I don't say that very often, but you're making a mistake. Connor has an absolutely awesome YouTube channel. He does a lot of like, Market Monday, stuff like that. A link to the description of his YouTube channel is in the description of this video. All you got to do real quickly, hit the pause button, go down below, give him a quick subscribe, and then you can come back here, run this on 2x, and you'll catch right back up to the live chat. Or if you're watching this after the fact, I promise you, if you give him a subscribe, his Instagram's on there as well. You'll definitely enjoy his content. He is a very smart guy. And if you're enjoying this conversation to this point, I promise you, you'll enjoy his channel. But with that said, we'll get back into the conversation.
I appreciate that, man.
But no, Con, I really enjoy your channel. And even when I got to meet you, in person down at the Lingenhart Pop Shop, like just conversing with you, like you definitely have a mind for finance, and it shows just on your channel, but it shows as you talk to you too,
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's I appreciate that. I really do. Like I said, the whole reason I started doing YouTube is because I was writing a finance blog geared towards millennials and I got bored writing. And that's how I started doing YouTube. Is I was like, how can I talk about the stuff I love, but also like teach some financial literacy? Because there were just like, there were a lot of bad decisions being made. And it was like, how could I like at least throw my hat in the ring to help a little bit? Right. So, and now we have a lot of fun. We do a lot of different stuff. It's going to be wild to see where YouTube go. I mean, it's just evolved so much in the past couple of years for the Pokemon space. And we're like this big when compared to some of like the big areas of YouTube. So it'll be fun to like watch it grow and change over time for sure.
Yeah.
Here for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's super speculative, but like, I guess there's always like the thought, right? Like I think of my channel as being relatively new. Like it came out of quarantine. Like that's why this channel exists. And then after quarantine kind of ended, like I just enjoyed what I was doing. I kept making videos, but I always wonder, I think of the people in my head who are the OGs. It's like easy TCA Gaming and Gem Mint. And then I guess you could throw like Scott Pratt in there, even though his channel is only about 5 years old. And there's a couple of channels that I'm like, oh, those guys are the OGs. But I wonder 10 years down the line, like, knock on wood, I hope my channel and your channel still around. I wonder if people will like look at this hobby differently and be like, oh, that guy's an OG. And it's like, no, I'm not. Like this channel is brand new. But I always wonder if people think about like channels today as being the early adapters in the future.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, for someone like you, like I have always gotten and continue to get a ton of value out of your channel, right? And if you can keep doing that with a certain level of consistency, the sky's the limit, right? Like, look, we're never going to be the pack breaker channels.
No, but that's not what we're striving for either, though.
Not what it's about. Yeah, it's crazy how cool. I mean, people look, one thing I've learned in life is that people want to be known and loved, and they want to be part of community, right? People crave community, and that's what this creates, right? And I think no matter where the world goes and whether people are freaking in lockdowns in their houses or out traveling, every weekend of the year, they're always looking for a community to be a part of, and being able to know they can come back to a place like this and participate. Like, that's why you're going to continue to be successful. So that's, I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like, people really appreciate what people like you are doing, and it's going to perpetuate, man. It's going to keep growing. You got the podcast going now. I still got to listen to the freaking episode.
Yeah, here's a good one. But I can only look at just a couple of the most recent names, but one of the fears I have is I don't have delusions of grandeur, but if for whatever reason this channel ever reached, like, I would say 10,000 subscribers in the next 2-3 years isn't like out of the realm of absolute impossibility, assuming that I keep making content, right? So, but I'm looking at the chat, like Ancient Mew and Fresh Tat and Pokemon DNA, Aaron Scott, Ivan, Dougie Fresh, Alan, you're in here. You say booyah, my mods, Andrew, like a lot of Masons in here, and a lot of these Rattles in here, and a lot of these people like Marty's in here. I know every single one of them. Like, I'm familiar with them. Might have had conversations with them like off YouTube and on Instagram messages and stuff like that. My biggest fear is that for whatever reason, like that would go away. Like, if you've ever gone into, say, like a PokeRev chat, like PokeRev's been on this channel before. He joined. I don't know if you got to watch that live, but he joined at the end of one of our earlier ones with Rattle and Cool Train Ryan. But PokeRev joined at the end. If you ever jump into one of his chats, good luck. Like, that shit's flowing a mile a minute. There's 3,000 people in there. Like, it's almost impossible to read as somebody reading the chat and not somebody making a video. Like, my biggest fear is that it would ever get to the point where I couldn't like see what people are writing and stuff. That would be terrible, in my opinion.
No, I get it. I think the good news is, like, people are here for more conversation, right? And you got to remember, like, in a chat like that with Rev, like, they're just throwing their name out there to try to get him to say something to them or to try to get attention from someone else. But here it's like, it's okay that we, don't always get to keep up with the whole chat, because we know in these conversations, there's just people having internal conversations in the chat as well. And it goes back to that community aspect. Like, for Nav, like, he is providing like a pure entertainment service, right? And it's a little different, but like, I think this is, again, it goes a lot more about the community, and I think that's only going to be strengthened by more in-person events, because then we're going to want to come back and still like be connected throughout this. So I get that fear, but I think it's just something, just like work on as far as like how we interact with the chat. And yeah, DNA said you could just do a paywall. Then you never have to worry about getting too many subscribers. Because
so shout out to Pokemon DNA. So he had a live the other day, and I think it was him and Professor Oak, and Professor Oak's one of my mods, and I met Pokemon DNA with you down at the Leonhardt Pop Shop.
Yeah.
And so I've had a lot of compliments on this channel going, and one of the best compliments I've got is people that like respectfully disagree with my takes. And I think people who respectfully disagree are the most important thing, like, for this hobby, because it means that they're listening to what you're saying. And then you get the people who are on the other end of the spectrum who like attack you and will call you names and stuff like that, which I think that is very poor etiquette. And those are the people I will ignore. But the people that like listen to what I'm saying and disagree with me, I really like. So those used to be my favorite things people ever said, were the people that respectfully disagreed. But then Pokemon DNA on his last live said that one of the only reasons, maybe not the only reason, but one of the reasons his channel exists is because of this channel, because he met me down at the Leonhardt Pop Shop. He started watching my channel, Same thing with Professor Oak. They both decided to make their own channels because they wanted to engage more with the community. Because like they started watching this channel, and I'm like,
So freaking
holy
cool.
shit. Like, what is going on? Where I never thought this channel would ever get to the point where like I'd be inspiring people, because the people I look up to most in this hobby, like, and I've talked about this, I beat this dead horse enough, but like I look up to like a TCA game, and like, look at what that guy's been doing. Dude, if they like one of the reasons that they have a channel is because of this channel, it's like something is performing correctly. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is, but like something is working.
Yeah. Well, and it goes like, I don't know, it just goes to show like it does matter what, like our words carry weight in the social media realm when you're putting out the right things into the world. People resonate with that and it makes them excited about it. You know, I mean, I had the same, you know, I had similar inspirations from a couple of people when I decided to start making content, and it's because they showed me, one, that I could actually do it, that I didn't have to be, you know, some high level production, like what, like you just got to be yourself and put yourself out there. And you doing that sets such a good example for those guys. And, you know, I had DNA on my channel. It was awesome. He had me on his. It was awesome. Again, that whole idea of being able to have like reasonable discussion around things we don't necessarily agree on, but go back and forth on the points is, you know, it's some of the best conversations we can have. It's how stuff like this will continue to perpetuate, because I'll just freaking agree, and excuse my crudeness, but basically circle jerk it for freaking.
That's the worst.
Like, it's
don't
like,
ever agree with everything anyone says.
Yeah, like you might as well end it, because there's no point. We're just here to hear ourselves talk. Then it's just mental, you know what?
But do it respectfully, people. Everybody out there, do it respectfully. And Mason put a great comment. He said, I disagree with a lot of your takes, PK, but I still like your content and you mean well. And like, shout out to Mason. So Mason was my first ever person that was willing to come on this channel and go live. Like, that might not sound like a lot to people, because they're like, PK, how many lives have you done? And it's like, well, I've done a lot to this point, but
have you seen the slideshows?
Yeah, but have you seen the memes? But yeah, when Mason was the first one who was willing to come on this channel, it's like, dude, Mason had like, I don't know, 15,000 subscribers at the point, and I was sitting at like, I don't know, 1,000. He's like, yeah, I'll come on your channel. I was like, what?
Like, you know,
why?
It's so
why are you doing this for me? And he's like, I don't know, I just like talking Pokemon pretty much. And it's like, okay, there's some really good people out there. That's it.
So true. It's awesome. Oh man.
Raheem said PK is always right. Never had a bad opinion ever. False. Dude, I have my Raichu collection, and you know, PSA 1 through 10. I promise you, there's a lot of bad choices within that collection.
There's a Raichu card I'm trying to not make a bad decision on, but I really want it.
Which one? The Power Keepers one?
No, it's it's part of the Diamond and Pearl exchange promo collection from Japan.
Okay.
The hollow version of the artwork from, I think it was a promo in English. Let me look it up. But there's just like not a lot of them, and I love those DP exchange cards. So what was the non-hollow version? He's like on the sand. Crap. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the English side is. I probably Bulbapedia it, but it's a really
on the sand doesn't narrow it down.
Nope, not even close.
There's a lot of Raichus on the beach type cards.
Yeah,
it's like more than
now. Oh my god.
I've never tried to go after like a master Raichu collection or anything like that. I don't ever want to, you never like get too nervous, like you get too close to the rabbit hole, and if you put your foot in, you're just afraid to get sucked down. Like, I'm afraid that there's certain parts of this hobby where it's like, dudes, just stay away. don't do it. Don't do it. And then there's a little part of you that's like, do it. Do it.
That's how I feel, dude, about like with this freaking Bandai set. Like now the map cards have just gotten so ridiculously like out of like whack to the rest of the set. I'm like, do I really care about having the whole set that much where I need to like be that completionist? Just like when the whole set is like a very approachable value, and then you've got like 3 things that are like 20 times the value of anything else in the set. Like how, like, it's just a very weird thing now when you're trying to collect full sets. I've never really been like a full set collector. More like specific hollow sets or subsets, unless it's Southern Islands, because that was such an approachable set, you know?
Yeah. There was a couple sets that I thought about it for a while, and like I made like little plays here and there, but when I started getting into like the more nitty gritty of the sets, I was like, I don't want to keep doing this.
It's the Pop Series 9 Raichu.
Hmm.
That's what it is on the English side. Really random. But it's a hollow for DP exchange, and it's really cool. Really, really cool. So
Series 9.
I like that one. Got a couple
Okay.
Raichus. That was the one that there was like a cracked ice version in English, and then there's the hollow version in Japanese.
Yeah, I could do this.
Oh yeah, Raheem shouted that out already.
It's this card right here.
Let's see.
Can you see this?
Not yet. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that one. Yep. Yep. So the DP exchange promo is regular hollow, and it's beautiful. And I have the Pichu and both the Pikachus from that era. Some of them are like misnomered, like you didn't actually get them through like a trade please exchange, but some of them you did. So I kind of look at them all together as part of that promo set, but there's just a stupid amount. Well, that's the problem too, talking about rabbit hole. The freaking rabbit hole of Japanese promos is just, I stuck my foot in and I'm screwed.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Godspeed.
Yeah, I'm whatever, 15 years into it, and I'm never gonna get there. So just pick your spots. It's actually hilarious. But I forget, I never asked this. Do you collect anything else besides, I know you like shoot, I just lost it. There was another pop culture collectible. You like The Simpsons a lot, right?
Big Simpsons guy. So you're talking about like the 90s Simpsons trading cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have only one. So when it comes to the more non-Pokemon TCG related stuff, I have a lot of ones, like one booster box of a lot of ones. But yeah, Simpsons is one of them. I have like some Simpsons sticker collections and all kinds of different stuff. But for Pokemon, I'll do duplicates and like one to hold, one to sell in the future. But for a lot of the stuff, it's just like I'll own one of them.
Yeah,
So
I get it. Yeah. I've always like dabbled and opened certain stuff, but I just love Weiss mostly. I mean, that's really, and now that it's gained so much popularity, it's kind of fun because like people, I don't know, it's fun to see people participating in other parts of the hobby. So, or other hobbies, you know, that I'm part of. So it's been fun.
So what did you write in the comment? You said, Lord, I hope so. What?
Oh, I meant to tag DNA. He said off topic here, but do either of you think the Ash's Pikachu VMAX will make it to the next Pokemon set?
Yeah, it better. Well, I don't know why it didn't make it. Dude, Astro Radiance missed out on Lance's Charizard.
Yep.
Like the character rare and that Pikachu
Leon's.
VMAX.
Yeah, Leon's Charizard.
Vegas would have lost a lot of money if people were betting that those cards wouldn't be an Astro Radiance. Like,
No. I opened a couple blister packs, and that'll be it for me for Astro Radiance. I have the Pokemon Center ETB for display because I thought that was a really cool looking one.
dude, I've opened 0 Astro Radiance packs so far. I have no reason to open Astro Radiance. It seems like a dud.
Yeah, I had 3 blister packs come with my Pokemon Center ETB, so I must have like bought them when I bought it. I don't know, but I pulled that.
Yeah, I got my case the other day of
There's this
Astro Radiance Pokemon. Oh, you got that? Yeah, you got the Greninja.
yeah. So I figure, yeah, people like that. So
Yeah, I actually, believe it or not, really like the Beedrill alternative art. I don't know if you.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Time Gazer or Space
Mhm.
Juggler. I forget which one it was from. Time Gazer, I think. See, until the boom, I only really opened Japanese product. I only really collected Japanese. I get random stuff in Target for modern, but because of making content and being on Instagram and then being on YouTube, I started opening more English, and I just don't really care for it. Like, I don't really care for opening English modern. Just doesn't really do it for me. And I know people aren't going to like that take, but I would rather spend a lot less money and get some boxes from Japan and do my thing there. And I just like Japanese culture and the language and all those things and the quality of the cards and blah, 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 like I always have and I always will. So I don't know.
I don't like that take.
I know you don't. I know. I just like the aesthetic. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It always has been like that. It kind of screwed me because I didn't have as much value in my collection, but I guess that was better because I was keeping a lot of the stuff I wanted anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It led me to having holes though, right? Like that, like I just picked up a legendary collection Magikarp. I've never, like, other than a couple binder cards, had anything from legendary collection ever.
How many reverse holos are you up to at this point?
Oh, just that one. Well, then I also have a Flareon that I bought as a flip. So I just want that and the Gary. I would like to have a Gyarados at some point. Just for my Magikarp Gyarados collection. They're really cool. I mean, they are really cool. They just suck to play with, so no one liked them.
So I do want to talk about this a little bit. Steve said, "Have you guys seen the crazy Kickstarter TCG?" But before you answer that, I gotta run take a piss.
Yeah, go.
This is my 4th beer now. So this is what happens. Like when everyone is like, "What's the hardest part of making a live?" It's like, well, you're just
having to piss.
drinking. You got to pee the whole time.
Yep.
But feel free to talk whatever you want, and then as soon as I get back, we can talk about that. Answer.
All right. PK sucks. No. All right, chat. Let's see what else is in here. Throw a question. You have seen the alt art Lilligant. Which one is that? Let's pull it up. Lilligant alt art. I don't know if I've seen that one. Probably have. Oh yeah, that one is sweet. And that was not in Japan, which is pretty cool. That's what's so interesting. There's so many Hisuian Pokemon in that freaking picture. It's awesome. There are some stupid good alt arts coming out. The Machamp alt art is sick. I would love to have that card. I like the Palkia alt art, even though the origin forms aren't the best thing. Yeah, the Palkia alt art, it's like a nod to MC Escher, right? How it's kind of like that weird. Let's see that Gyarados art you have on the wall. Oh, the one back there. I can't pull that one off the wall, but I think his name is Steve. I forget. This one is pretty neat. So it's got the first edition stamp because it was like his first print run of them. So
Is that's a red Gyarados?
yeah.
Do you have the gold star?
No, that's never gonna happen, most likely. So
yeah, that's a expensive card. But yeah, so now that I'm back, we'll answer this question. So
yeah, do it.
Normally so first off, normally on this channel, I don't like to talk anything that's not Pokemon, but because we are so far into this live, like we could talk a little bit. He says, have you guys seen the crazy Kickstarter TCG expansions? 99% of the games don't look great, but definitely some good short-term plays. So, all right. So I think first off on MetaZoo, I was probably pretty hard on MetaZoo at the very beginning because definitely think it was a Ponzi scheme. Definitely didn't like the way they rolled out a lot of stuff. Didn't like the way that MetaZoo like shunned new players, meaning MetaZoo built a fucking house of cards, so it was only like early adopters were really rewarded. They didn't reward anybody who was potentially like new to the game. They were doing a lot of like numbered stuff. I didn't like MetaZoo. I was real hard on them. You guys don't know, you like go back. Me and Catch 'em All Collectibles were on a live. There was a long MetaZoo debate. We're not going to talk about MetaZoo, but with that said, I was definitely pretty hard on them. So I felt I needed to, for my own like mental well-being, like look at Kickstarters, give them a chance. Is there a Kickstarter I would actually like anything that makes sense? And I don't know. I don't know if you've seen Sorcery. That's like one of the newer ones, but it had a lot of money. Rudy made a pretty good video about Sorcery. And I liked that Sorcery was only going to be like a once a year thing, because anything I pick up has to be secondary. It cannot be primary.
Rudy's not making videos about sorcery until they show they can actually fulfill the Kickstarter orders, but as an aside.
Yeah, like I said, when I talk about like other sets, it's like what works for me. A set that, or a TCG that would be maybe once a year works for me. Everything I pick needs to be secondary, but I do like some Kickstarters in a way. But dude, any play you guys make on Kickstarters, man, don't think everything's going to be a MetaZoo.
So these exploded. This is a Cora.
What is it?
A Cora.
Oh, yeah.
Ora. This is a Kickstarter box. A Cora is coming out with first edition cards. I think they released in July. I think that with all Kickstarter TCGs right now, I actually just think you should like back one that you really, really like the artwork of and want to collect, and probably just avoid any speccing on them, because I think the downside is just too great. I think that 90% of them are just going to be trashed. You're going to
So when we talk about things on this channel and Pokemon as being potentially investable, it has a huge track record. It has something built into it. If you guys are even considering Kickstarter and you aren't willing to lose 100% of your money, like if you're looking at it as being an investment and stocking out, I would probably, my recommendation to you, and this is not financial advice, but just don't. Like if you can't take the risk, or if you're like, oh, I'm going to buy this and I need it to go up in the future, please don't. Look at Kickstarter TCGs as you going out and buying a Monopoly game. Like if you go out and buy a Monopoly game at your local Toys R Us or whatever, like you don't bring that Monopoly game home, open it up, start playing with it and say, I hope this Monopoly board makes money in the future. Like you're like, I'm going to buy this Monopoly game because I want to play Monopoly. Like look at it like that, where it has zero value once you bring it home.
Yeah.
That's how I look at Kickstarter.
To Pokemon, basically, is how I look at it. It's like you're gonna spec on a speculative spec. Okay, sweet. Like, good luck. I almost backed the MetaZoo Kickstarter, and then I got distracted and forgot. That would have worked out great. I think it's cool. Like, I love seeing more TCGs. There have been some with really cool collectible elements. Like this, I like because, again, Japanese Pokemon collector, Japanese culture enthusiast, anime enthusiast. That's what this artwork and these cards represent to me. And I'm going to open some and enjoy it. And then I'm going to sail off into the future and see if they survive and I get to collect more.
And you're doing it right. And that's the whole thing. It's like YOLO. But that was I think my big problem with MetaZoo was that everybody was telling me, no, this thing is just investable. And I'm like, just stop. But if everybody was like, yeah, we're just going to let it run out and see how it goes, that would be different. But when people are like, oh no, I used all this Ethereum to buy this one of one NFT, and this NFT comes with a card attached to it, but the card hasn't been released. The card will be released, and it will be numbered 1 out of 100. And it's like, okay,
A little too much.
you lost me. Stop.
It's a little too much.
I compared TCG Kickstarters to buy in Monopoly at Toys R Us, and you're talking about NFTs and Ethereum and 1 of 100s, and it's like, you lost me. We're too far separated. But that's my thought on Kickstarters. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to Kickstarters. I'm sure you're probably a little more.
I mean, so I like, just because I've been a Kickstarter junkie, it's like forever. Like I'm just other shit. I own so much random stuff that I've gotten off Kickstarter, not TCG related. I think it's really comes down to what I said. Look, like
Risk tolerance.
You can speculate. Yeah, exactly. You can speculate on whatever you want, but just understand that downside. I mean, there are like, if you bought a basket of 10 of the most recent Kickstarter TCGs, you would have gotten shelled. There's not like it's not like people want to look at it like investing in like speculative companies, right? Because that's basically what you're doing, right? You're betting on this company to be successful, right? It is not the same. We're in the physical product game. We're in an emotional response collectible, and the probabilities of striking it are so low. Yes, great. You could like, look, you're like, you can spec on whatever and make money on it. Yeah, sure, most likely. But like a lot of them are just going to get absolutely destroyed out the gate.
Yeah.
Because people realize they forget that like that's all fabricated, right? Because without the cards actually being out there and people really somehow drawing to them in some way and being able to play with them and collect them and touch it and feel it, then it just becomes this, like it becomes really like a fake marketplace. It just becomes a buying and selling transaction based on momentum. It has nothing to do. It could be NFTs, right? Like it literally becomes like that in that way where it's really just a speculative, like who, to the point, the word that everyone loves to use lately, who gets left holding the bag, right? And that's what it comes down to. So it's like, it's not even there. Collect what you want. Like I would rather, a lot of TCGs or Kickstarter TCGs I've been interested in, there's probably been half a dozen in the past year, maybe 8. At the end of the day,
yeah. So Rock, I think the problem that we're running into is everyone says like, what are your thoughts about Kickstarters? But no one wants to just say like, can we have a conversation that's not about investing?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, everyone's like, oh, PK likes a Kickstarter. He must be investing in it. And it's like, stop it. Stop. Yeah. Everything doesn't have to always be an investment, and like Kickstarters just.
Well, that's what I was going to say is like, I was like, I could collect and try this new thing, or I could just go buy like 5 boxes of Danmachi Weiss and open it all for myself and have fun.
Yeah.
Because I know I like that. Like, I know I like that anime, and I know I like Weiss Schwartz cards, and I enjoy that experience. Send it. Like, I don't know shit about any of these, like, excuse me. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like, why do you enjoy what you enjoy? And do you think you're really going to enjoy this Kickstarter, or someone just telling you should enjoy it or like it? So then you get like manipulated into thinking you're going to like it and enjoy it. And then you just end up with a bunch of boxes of cards with terrible card stock, shit artwork, and no like enjoyable chase factor.
Yeah. Why can't it just be like Monopoly, or somebody said Chutes and Ladders in the chat, or Sorry, or Trouble, or whatever? Just sometimes let things just be a game, but maybe again, we're in the niches of the niches. But so somebody asked a question. Alan asked, for somebody that is just wanting to learn how to play the actual TCG, what's the best way? In either one of your opinions, are those battle academies a good idea? For me, I would just say, I'm guessing if you're watching this channel, you probably got a stack of code cards at home. Learn to play online first. PTC or Pokemon trading card game online or Pokemon online. I know it's tough right now. I keep getting mad because there's not like a good app version through the iOS store. But just learn to play online, and then honestly, just find a local card store that's doing a pre-release tournament. Go there. You guys are all going to be on the same playing field at that point. Go buy your build and battle kit with your 4 packs. Make a deck out of that. It's not going to be as many people there as you might think. It's not going to be like you walk into an auditorium. It's going to be like a couple people sitting at a table playing Pokemon. And any questions you have, they'll be more than willing to help you, man. They're not, this isn't the type of community, especially like the investor community maybe is a little like harsh, but when you get down to that point and you're sitting down with kids and parents and stuff, like just have fun.
Yeah. There's probably some good, like, I don't know Facebook, but there's probably good Facebook groups or other social mediums online where you can like play with other people. Like you can set up like probably Zoom calls or video chats or something and play. I assume, like, I know for like the Harry Potter trading card game, there's like a pretty big like following of people who do that, and they play online a lot, like on Zoom or whatever, like against each other. So if you don't have like a local community to engage with, that's like another place you could look for sure.
Yeah. But if you go to a pre-release tournament and you're like, I want to keep my build and battle box sealed, you're probably in the wrong place.
They're gonna kick your ass out.
Like, but if you want to play the game, it's like Mason. I'm sure Mason's still in the chat. Like, I'm sure people show up to some of his, and it's just like to have fun, learn the game. And me personally, I'm so antiquated when it comes to the game that to not be online, like I don't really even know how to play at this point.
Yeah,
Like how the shuffle, I don't know how people do it. Like playing online, everything's so streamlined. It's like pull the card out I want, reshuffle my deck, it's done. And it's like to do it in person, it's just so much more.
Yeah, there's I always toy with like thinking about learning to play and like building decks and stuff, and then I realized that it's just not something I want to spend time doing. Like I'd probably learn to play Weiss first, or get like build decks for Weiss first. But I probably wouldn't do it for any of them at the end of the day. I just don't know if it's really my speed, as much as I love it.
So Connor, how are you doing right now? You want to go on for a little bit longer? We'll open up to some questions from the chat.
Yeah, let's do some questions. I'm going to run use the restroom too, and I'll be right back.
So if anybody in the chat has an actual question that they want answered, just write at Pokeknowledge cards. So it actually highlights on my screen, and we'll try to answer any questions you might have. Ancient Mew first question said, PK, do you think we've hit the floor of celebrations? I'm still seeing it in stock at stores occasionally. What are you seeing in stock, Ancient Mew? Like, you're not seeing UPCs. Like, are you seeing ETBs? Are you seeing, Lance's Charizard B boxes, stuff like that? Are you seeing some of the tins? Celebrations is one of those things that there was a lot of it printed. There's probably a lot of it still at distributor that hasn't made its way out. It's going to be one of those things. Like I think Celebrations was actually one of the very few times that was an actual 25th anniversary set, and Pokemon was very transparent that like we're probably not going to print any more of this. And I think a great example of that would be Celebrations had a very short window of time when it was released. When you look at it, opposed to like what's a good product to compare Celebrations to would be Generations. Generations and like the monthly boxes that Generations came out with, there was 12 different collection boxes for Generations, one a month. Generations dragged out for so freaking long. Celebrations, I think they realized you can't have it just drag out forever. But the problem is Celebrations, man, there's a freaking lot of it. And pull rates for Celebrations, so easy. So do I think we've hit the floor for Celebrations? I think we're close in some products. I think some products like will still stay low for a while. Now for singles, we're not there yet, especially when it comes to the graded single market because of PSA's like prices and stuff. Trust me, when PSA drops down to like $20 a card or $10 a card, if some of these celebration PSA 10 cards are again, celebrations print quality was some of the best print quality we've seen in a long time for cards. So your likelihood or 9s to 10s for celebrations, pretty high. Trust me. There's 68 people watching this live right now. Of those 68 people, 68 people have, nope, out of the 68, 69 people have celebration singles that are potentially gradable, assuming prices get low enough. So I don't know if you saw that question. HMU asked if celebrations has hit the floor. You're on mute, Connor.
Sorry, dude. Did you see that there was a restock? I'm not sure how like proliferated it was, but of UPCs in Walmarts.
I haven't seen celebrations, but dude, MJ Holden's probably, you know how MJ Holden's is. They're sitting on shit forever. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen celebrations trickle in the Walmarts for the next 2 years. I wouldn't be surprised too if Pokemon hasn't printed a freaking pack of celebrations, but it still trickles in through MJ Holden's for 2 years.
I'm curious how the Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs will end up playing out for that set, because those were pretty unique, good artwork. Allegedly, they're not going to make them anymore, but I will believe it in 5 years.
I bought my case. Listen, this is the thing is I'm a strong believer that when Pokemon came out and put out a newsletter and said, we're not making any more celebrations because it was so out of the norm. And in fact, I want to say it might be the only time ever that they've done that. Yeah. It's that far out of the norm. I can't think of a time. If they were lying about that, I hope they are lying because there'll be so much content that comes out of that.
Oh my God.
Like the amount of content, like when we see like, oh, by the way, we're reprinting UPCs. Dude, it'll just be like, that's all you'll see for the next couple months.
Honestly, though, it's things like that could end up being really damaging to the hobby because you start to like that those are missteps that a company starts to make that, but maybe we're too much in the echo chamber and no one really cares. Maybe they don't, you know.
And you know why? Because because Connor, we just said Pokemon put out a press release. I bet you if you polled 100 people that were Pokemon collectors, poll them like, hey, we're going to do this random poll. How many of you have seen that announcement? It would be like one. You know, it would be like one person would even know what you were talking about. Like the average collector would be like, wait, what announcement from Pokemon? But for us and everybody in this chat, it's like, dude, we were talking about that. We were making videos about it. It was crazy. Like, but the average person is like, what are you talking about? What announcement did Pokemon make?
Goes back to the base of that triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
Let's see. So Australian Blastoid said, PK, how are you? Doing good. Thanks for asking. What's your personal opinion on the Arita and Sato full art Team Rocket suitcase cards? Well, I know Australian Blastoids owns. So if anybody doesn't know, there's 2 cards in that. There's
Boss's orders, right?
Yeah. There's the Giovanni with Persian one, and then there's like all the teenagers. Wow, my God, I can't think of the name of the card.
Jesse James and Meowth. I forget what the card is called.
But I think one just recently sold at auction for like $7,000, close to that. I think it was a Scott Pratt auction consignment. What do I think about it? I think if you got into it early enough, good for you.
Yep.
If you miss the boat,
you miss the boat.
You miss the boat.
To your point in that video. Yep. Yeah, just like you gotta let some things go in this hobby. And that's probably one of them.
That's you missed the boat. Yeah.
Unless
And
you have unlimited money, I mean, then do whatever you want. But
oh yeah, if you do it. But
or want to sell your whole collection and buy one thing, I mean,
if you're paying $7,000 for something you could have bought for $200 a few years back, it's like, oh, dude, where were you a couple of years back? Why did you pass on it then, but now you want it at 7,000? Unless you're going to tell me that you just re-entered the hobby and you're spending $7,000, then I'll say, come downstairs. Let me show you the collection. Like I don't. How do you answer that?
it's
Where were you in all the run up to $7,000?
okay. So this is the other thing that I thought of. You said something in your live, and I thought, oh, this would be good to talk about. I can't remember what the specific thing was, but basically the idea is, and I forget, I think there's a economics term for it, but what am I trying to say? My brain's starting to go fuzzy. So there are, it's like people are willing to pay these prices for certain cards simply because they perceive it to be that valuable because of how it exists in the market today, right? Like someone's willing to pay $7,000 for that because it's the only one available and they like it, right? But until what was it? There was something, there was like a very specific example that you were talking about, and it made me totally think of this. And maybe it's just like the same thing, right? It really just goes back to like the grading fees, right?
Yeah, if you're talking about the video I made, it was talking about the special delivery Pikachu. The special delivery Pikachu was available on Pokemon Center for a week.
Yeah.
During, I would call it the boom of Pokemon, meaning the height of heights where everybody was freaking FOMOing out of the mouth for Pokemon. And the only way you could get that special delivery Pikachu was by spending $20 on Pokemon Center. The caveat being all the Pokemon cards were sold out.
Yeah.
So you couldn't buy cards, but you could buy t-shirts or keychains or all the other crap that Pokemon Center is currently like selling. And you would have got that Pikachu special delivery for 1 week. 1 week is a long time.
Until it was valuable. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it
But
was.
and you got that card for free. You would have still got your $20 t-shirt and you would have got that card just thrown in for free. And no one, well, all right. This is where I can't say no one cared about it because there was a lot of people that cared about it. A lot of people were very well aware that that card was out there, and a lot of people bought a lot of stupid t-shirts. Like there's a lot of people did that. But then there was all these people that when it hit a PSA 10, they were like, I'm ready to now spend $1,000 on this card. It's like, wait. You wouldn't buy one $20 t-shirt, but now you will spend $1,000 to get this card in PSA 10. What the fuck is going on? But like that was a real conversation, and everyone's like, special delivery Pikachu is now the best thing ever. It's like, this was free. You know that, right? It was free. You're talking about something that was free, but you didn't want a t-shirt because you were only wanting to buy the trading cards. It's just, what do you do, Connor? What do you do at that point? How do you have that conversation? It's not like, so like the special delivery Bidoof was different because you had to get the email and you have to say you wanted it. And then you had to get the promo code sent to you. Then you had to buy something. You had to insert the promo code. There was a little bit behind that. The special delivery Pikachu was November of 2020. That's not even 2 years ago. Are you going to tell me that every single person is newer than that? What the?
I know.
It almost like it makes your brain struggle so hard. And they could have watched channels like this or YouTube. There's how many YouTube channels we're talking about that card as being a free. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
The market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So don't think too hard about it. Like, oh my God. So I think what I was thinking before was kind of like almost like a Veblen good, right? Where like the higher the price goes, the higher the demand for it becomes, right? Like it's perceived as more desirable because it's more expensive. So when it was a free $20 card with a t-shirt, no one cared, to our point. But when it becomes a PSA 10 graded card on eBay, the first one gets listed at $1,000 OBO, then it becomes desirable. And it's all about psychology. Like it's just people continually trick themselves into rationalizing really, really poor decisions by building up narratives in their head.
Yeah.
And we do that all the time.
So Connor, Quinlan Collectibles said, was annoying when a PSA 10 special delivery Pikachu was show bid the 12K by an account with no feedback. And then all these PokeTubers were headlining that show bid. Listen, when I talked about the height of that card being $1,000, there's a big difference between people buying at 1,000 and it's
12.
that shill of 12.
No.
But it was selling for $1,000 at one point, and I think a lot of those sales were real.
Yeah, no, they absolutely were.
And they were stupid.
There were a lot of stupid buys for a lot of stupid price.
People are like, point to me a modern bag, and it's like, well, take a seat. Here you go. What's a special delivery Pikachu and PSA 10 sell for now? You know, it's still probably over $100.
Right? Yeah, if I had to guess.
But again, that's still a card that was free. You know, you know how many people sent out 20 of those?
My favorite cards to grade are ones that people send me for free.
But Connor, what was that saying? You said the market will stay irrational longer than you can say
solvent.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's a old adage. I forget whose adage that is, but yeah, it's like if you think too hard, like people make insane decisions. Again, that's why like finance is mostly psychology, right? To be honest, like it's all about the human psyche and the understanding of risk and the understanding that you have an emotional attachment to your money and emotional attachment to the things you buy and sell. There's no way to justify that. There's no way to justify taking a $20 card, putting $20 into grade it or $7 or whatever, and it becoming an $1,000 card and knowing there are a bajillion of them. But people just don't know. I think we underestimate, because we are in this freaking echo chamber. There are more than enough people who just don't know, who are just that uneducated about price history in collectibles and in this hobby, and they just don't know. And also, I think it's just a sign of our generation, the generation right after us, so those younger than us, the complete and utter lack of critical thinking by most people in our cohort is extremely disturbing. Like, that's why, like, I mean, whether it's in this hobby, the small amount of people who actually like listen to a channel like this, think critically about the prices, the buying, selling in this market, or it's people at large who, I don't know, read or understand what's going on in global politics, or think for themselves once in a while, or, you know, don't just scroll TikTok all day. They're the ones that are going to win, right? It's the people who can actually demonstrate that, because the gap is widening. The gap is absolutely widening, and all the dumbass decisions that were made in this hobby are just a microcosm for that. We saw the same thing in like a myriad of other places, but we're just so in tune with this one, you know, like, I don't know, I'll get off my soapbox, but
I think you're right. I don't know how I don't have a counter to that, because it's just boils down to being yes. You know, but I think this is a problem too, is we will sit here and be 2 hours into a podcast and still trying to figure out like irrational thoughts and have them make sense. Like, but you can't, right? You just, I mean, Yeah.
I like it. It's shiny, and I have $1,000 in my bank account. So there we go.
Yeah. I mean, how many people are out there going to card shows and stuff and they see Champions Path Charizard V promo and PSA 10 and they buy it.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, do you know what the pop report for that is? And they're like, what's a pop report?
Pop report. Yeah.
They're like, what are you talking about? And it's like, okay, enjoy your card, you know?
And then that goes to like, how long does that proliferate and for which cards, right? And then it's like, what is the real price it should be, right? Because we all know that it shouldn't be this price, but how long are people just going to exist that keep buying it? And maybe it goes back to, maybe we were talking about this before we went live, but it's the heterogeneous, inefficient nature of the hobby, right? It's that at any two, right now I can buy a card on eBay for $100 and somewhere else in the world, someone else is buying it for $600 at the same damn time.
So Raheem said a Torterra from Diamond and Pearl base sold for 1.1K and PSA 10 on Z&G auctions today. So I thought that card sold for $810. I didn't know it sold for 1,100. When I saw it, I thought it was 810. And I was in a group of people that put that card out there on the group, and everyone was like, "Well, that's just stupid." I don't know how to put it.
You also got to remember how crazy set completionists are.
Nah,
Weird
I
people
don't think
in this
so.
hobby are.
I don't even know what the pop of that is or anything, but
I don't know, man. That just reminded me. I wonder if I won anything on PWCC.
Mike said population doesn't always matter. Hidden Fates PSA 10 Charizard, the Shine and Vault 49 promo or number. It does. It does. And if the example you're given is the Charizard in a PSA 10, if you don't remember what that card was selling for its very first sales in a PSA 10 from Hidden Fates, it was stupid. Like, prices have retraced a lot on that card.
Yeah, that's
Now,
ridiculous.
Hidden Fates is starting to fall into this weird timeline where Hidden Fates maybe isn't being opened as much, but we're coming into the bulk timeline. And I would say, well, I don't have to say it. I would say that with a lot of certainty, talking to Z&G, talking to Cam, who also works with Z&G, the cards they said that they see being returned more than any other cards are Hidden Fates cards right now. And then like the obvious, like your base set, Jungle Fossil, but Hidden Fates being probably like in the top 3 of that list. So they're still coming, man.
That's about right.
Pop reports does matter. Mason said pop reports matters to you. People don't care.
Well, that goes back to that just indiscriminate buying, right? That people, there's just going to be people who just buy, like just go on eBay and search the first one and see what's on there and just buy something and don't. Like people are not like, people don't spend a lot of time thinking about decisions as much as we do.
Wouldn't you get burnt out though? I mean, how?
But
all right. All right. I'm going to try to phrase this and I want to hear your answer to this. In this hobby, don't you want your money to go the furthest that it could go?
Absolutely.
And in order for that to happen, wouldn't you have to do as much research as possible per purchase?
Absolutely. If you're actually thinking like that. It just like it'll never make sense because people they just buy things and they don't think about it and they aren't careful with their money, and financial literacy is at an all-time low, and some people aren't buying tons of stuff, they're just buying one thing. And I guess if you and I want to go buy 6 things for $100 and make our money go as far as we can, instead of buying a $100 item for $600, that's us in our mind being very rational and doing our research and understanding price points. But if someone's just going to buy one thing and they just want one thing and they have $600 to burn, they just send it. Like it's like, how do we, I think you might have said this before. Someone said it on live, like, how do I find these people and have them come on this channel and just talk to them? I just want
that. I just want to talk to them. Yeah. I want to talk to them and hear, because I would love to hear their thought, and maybe they just know more than we don't, right? Like maybe we live in the echo chamber where all this makes sense to us, but maybe they're like, this is why you're wrong.
We overestimate how pessimistic we should be, and really we underestimate how tremendous demand is. Maybe that's it. Maybe we're just so, I don't know.
I would like to, yeah. The guy was like, no, I bought Shining Fates for 130 and I'm keeping it sealed because it's a good investment. And we're like, when did you buy it? At pre-release? It's like, and when I walk into every Walmart that has Shining Fates, I do not buy it. I pass on it because I have one as an investment at 130 sitting in my closet at home. And like, you want to talk to that guy and be like, I'm listening. Keep going. I'm listening. You know, I don't know.
It's sad though. A lot of it is like, people make really bad decisions. They just do. But maybe, you know, it's $130, right? Maybe it's not going to crush them in the big scheme of things. If you do it 100 times, you're in a pretty bad place. But, you know, maybe once or twice or 5 times isn't, you know, the worst thing. West Coast, you find those people in Facebook groups. I'm not on Facebook. Oh my God.
So Marty the Martian said, okay, so you guys are talking about pop reports and stuff, but if everyone is buying a card at X amount constantly, isn't that how much the card should be? How do you get prices?
It's kind of what I alluded to earlier.
Yeah. So it's all about like understanding the fundamentals of that card. How many of that card exist? How many of it will exist? Are you at the end of the amount that are going to exist, or are you at the very beginning?
And
I'll give you an example of the most arguably the most famous card in this hobby is Charizard first edition base set PSA 10. 121 of those cards in a PSA 10. We know that the number is actually at a minimum truly 120 because Logan Paul cracked his PSA 10, resubmitted it to Beckett, put it on a necklace, wore it at a boxing match. It's no longer a PSA slot. So the number is at least 120. Now there's 2 other Beckett pristine 10s were those ever PSA 10s in the past. It's like, now we're just going down the rabbit hole, right? But whatever. Pop Report says 121. There's definitely 120 that exist. How many of those cards come out in PSA 10? Dude, when the PSA Pop Report in a Charizard first edition goes up 1, people talk about it. When it hit 121, people were talking about it. Whether you were talking about it, doesn't matter. People were talking about it. What's the chances of that Charizard first edition hitting 30,000? You know, like Charizard V from Champions Path. What's the chance? 0. You heard it here first. The chance of that is 0.
Pretty much 0.
Yeah, it's 0. There's no chance. There's not enough booster boxes in the world of base set first edition. But could it hit 200 potentially? Maybe. How long will that take? A fucking long time. It will take years. And that is a maybe. Because just even if you pull the Charizard first edition from a first edition booster box, your chances of hitting a 10 are still very low. So for it to hit 200, it's like such a, but then the question is, does the demand for that card outweigh the supply?
Yeah.
My answer is yes, but at what price point? then you go down that rabbit hole. You keep having these conversations where you keep conversing, right? It's like, can it hit 200? Is the demand there? Does the price justify it? Are there people out there with that much money? But I promise you, that card gets low enough in price, people buy that card up.
So let me come at it maybe from a different angle. I do understand what he's saying, right? It's what I alluded to before, right? Like if a card continually sells at a certain price, despite the fact that we know it quote unquote should be lower, that is the price today, right? I think a lot of what you have to think about is two things. One, it goes back to that like birthday Pikachu example, right? Like on a relative basis, the demand is just so tremendous that somehow such a ubiquitous card has always held some sort of value or premium above comparable cards, right?
And Ancient Mew, yeah.
Yeah. I hate that card so much. I know.
But you got one. Everyone owns one.
Nope.
No?
So
I'll send you one.
No,
I'll send you one.
Oh God. But this is what you have to think about. Okay, it's great. That's what the price of it is today, and that's what it's consistently selling at. But for how long can that card continue to sell at that price? And 10 years from now, is that $1,000 card that was purchased going to be effectively worthless or a very, very minimal value? And then when you take into account, because again, you got to remember, collectibles are physical assets. They are supposed to be stores of value. If you're buying a card for $1,000 and you care about the value of it, and everyone keeps buying them for $1,000, but we end up with a supply of them so great that eventually it goes off that cliff, that eventually that happens. Sure, that meant the price was right now, but it didn't mean, to PK's point, that the fundamentals of that card dictated that that should be being sold at that price at that time. Now, the supply and the demand might, because the demand outweighs the artificially low supply based on grading, right? But at the end of the day, the key is you have to look with that longer term future perspective and decide, is it really going to be the best choice to be buying that card at that price, knowing that there is such a downside risk associated with it? So that's what I think. You end up with this space where you have a lot of people buying, again, to use the word, indiscriminately in an uneducated manner, but eventually the time horizon catches up with them, right? Because eventually there's a supply so great and that really becomes worthless effectively. So that's my take on it. Just my hot take. So I just finished.
Yeah, no, and I was hearing you in the background, and it was a good take though. But no, you're right, and that's the thing, dude. Semantics. That's all it comes down to. But they're good conversations. They're important conversations to have, because if you're going to navigate this hobby, which I hope everyone is doing, you got to take this stuff into consideration if you want to do this for the investability aspect.
Or just to your point, to make your dollar go further, right? And
yeah,
it's just a lot harder now, right? 5 years ago, it wasn't this hard. Now you have to think a lot, if you really, really care about continuing to buy stuff like in collecting it.
So when you talk about things being 5 years ago easier, I think 5 years ago, I could point to more things where I could, and again, this is definitely personal bias, where I could definitively say at the time where I was like, I believe that is undervalued. Where after 2020, that while that was still possible, you could definitely still point to a lot of things in this hobby that was like, okay, this is still probably undervalued. It just became harder and harder. And the hobby definitely caught up in a lot of areas where it was like, crap, who's buying this? Like, nobody was buying this. Who is this person? And then you're like, all right, I guess that one thing isn't undervalued anymore. And then you keep like hopping down the line and it's like, all right, nothing's undervalued anymore. And then that's when we got to this almost like the peak of the mountain where a lot of people stopped becoming net buyers, started becoming net sellers, recognizing that the market was irrational, capitalized on the most irrational thought. And then as the market's coming back down, like then people started becoming net buyers again. And then you get into the, if Pokemon's in a bubble, are we in a bull trap? Maybe we're in a bull trap because now we're buying again, and it's just like back and forth.
Yeah. I said a thought in my head and I lost it, but yeah.
Sorry, I kept talking.
Oh no, that was perfect. My brain flitted.
But Mason he brought up a good point in the chat. He said, take 10 kids and release them into an LGS in front of the Pokemon case and give them each $1,000. What do they buy? It's like, well, they're probably not buying what we're buying.
No, they're buying what they like.
They're buying the shiny stuff.
Yep.
The shiny, the full art, the newest stuff, the stuff they know.
Yeah, stuff they like, and that's how we all started, right? We just bought stuff we liked. Right, we collected stuff we like. We traded for stuff we like. We made dumbass trades on the playground, giving friggin' Blastoises away for Poliwhirls. Like,
yep. You get the one kid that won the trade you as Raichu, and next thing you know, you're buying every Raichu for the next decade. What do you do about it?
Oh my god, it's incredible how the cookie crumbles.
Let's see. So Stephen Collectible said there is way different demand for modern versus vintage. I'm not saying invest in modern. In fact, I would say not, but the demand is still crazy and used to be, and is far greater 2020. But my point is modern is higher demand. Yeah, I mean, modern's hot right now. I don't know. I wouldn't say the demand is 2020 levels. Like 2020 levels, there was nothing. Like you can at least go on Pokemon Center right now and pick up some kind of sale product. Might not be the sale product you want. It might not be the Celebrations UPC or the Evolutions Premium Collection box or Evolving Skies booster box or Pokemon Center Evolving Skies ETBs or
sure shoot get some Battle Styles blisters.
Yeah, or your Battle Styles mini portfolios are probably on there, but that's probably not what people want.
No, some people, I mean, I don't know. Parent wants to just get something for their kids, they're gonna buy it.
Yeah, I think parents are even buying their kids way more than my parents were buying me.
Oh, absolutely.
I've talked about this on the past. Like when I was lucky, my parent would buy me like $20 worth of Pokemon, and at $3 a pack, maybe I was lucky to get like 6.
I remember like going into KB Toys with my grandma and I get like 1 pack.
Do you remember when they had the fossil sheets in KB Toys?
No.
Yeah, I kind of remember it. Like, I want to say I remember it because I remember looking at it and being like, yeah, I'll never be able to get this.
I just remember like jungle packs super vividly. Even though I opened more Team Rocket and I remember opening more Team Rocket, I remember seeing seeing them in KB Toys. You know what I mean? Like I have that memory. It's weird.
I remember in high school seeing Pokemon and just being like, I wonder what's going on like with Pokemon, and just walking and seeing like a lot of e-reader sets and being like, oh yeah, no one likes Pokemon anymore. If I only knew, because I wasn't in Pokemon during that time. So
I was just playing the video games. Like senior year of high school, we went on like a bender playing yellow, red, and blue in like study hall. Like we had freaking our link cables and all the shit. It was awesome. Oh man, it was so much fun.
I still have my original link cable. I remember I was trying to like trade up to my gold to like bring some of my original Pokemon in. Oh, crazy stuff. But like stuff you remember.
Yeah.
But even when I got back in the hobby, I wasn't buying modern either.
No, yeah.
I was going back and buying like the stuff I knew.
Yeah.
Because modern wasn't like any sort of investable thing. Not like it is today. Where I think that's like the big caveat too, is even when I got back in, it didn't make sense to buy modern. There was no value there, especially like grade and stuff. Now it's like you can buy Evolving Skies booster box, rip it open, hit a couple of the chase cards, send them away for to PSA, even at $50, hit 10s, sell them for a freaking fortune.
It's crazy. Yeah, I did like a vintage break recently, and on the back of one of my Neo Genesis packs, there was like a price tag for I forget what it was, like $12.99 or something. Like that's the stuff I was buying, vintage.
Wait, 12? Is this Japanese?
Japanese,
Oh,
yeah.
I was gonna say $12.99 was an expensive.
$8.
Okay,
Yeah.
yen. You're talking.
I probably bought it in college. It's
Crazy.
like wasn't buying freaking Target boxes, that's for sure.
So you just mentioned Japanese, mentioned vintage.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody out there who may not know, can you please let them know what you pulled while we were down at Leonhardt's Pop Shop? Obviously, we weren't still at the Pop Shop, but you had brought this pack.
Can we get it in the frame?
Big mistake, CGC.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. That Charizard right there was pulled live with PK and Basic after the Leonhardt pop-up shop event. Man, that was freaking unreal.
That was an awesome experience. So can we get the backstory to that pack just for anybody out there who might not know, like how you acquired it and everything? You did know it was heavy, right?
Yep, I knew. I bought that pack heavy. So there is a guy who I've built a relationship with over time. His name is Glenn. He used to have like a mall kiosk, and he is one of the people I know of who has like the most vintage sealed product of anyone. I know that he has been approached by players in the space to buy his whole collection in 7-figure, detail, but or level. But yeah, I think, with Japanese base, especially, you want to know it comes from the box. You want to know the weights of all the packs. You want to know it's in the heavy range. And so I bought that pack from him. It was one of the ones I kept in my safe, and we ripped it open. So I knew it was going to have
the Zard,
but we pulled the freaking Zard. That's what it's all about, man. Every time I get to look at that card, I get to remember that event and remember being there with you guys. And that's just like, that's what it's all about. It's so great. And yeah, I know I sent it to CGC. Sorry.
I told you not to. You got pretty strong subgrades on that. That's what the shame of that was.
I do think the centering's off enough where it wouldn't be a PSA 10, but you never know. I always have an option. I can always crack it.
Yeah. I would like to see you crack it just to get it out of that slab, even get it a PSA 9.
I know people probably think I just started collecting because I have so much CGC, but what I don't know is how many PSAs I sold.
Yeah.
You can always replace stuff. So the CGC doesn't freaking grade Bandai though. Not yet. They just started grading tops though. So that'll be interesting.
Dude, there's a run on tops for a lot of people. I think tops is about to be in a huge bubble.
Yep, it is already. Dude, as soon as that got announced, like Going Twice was on Whatnot, freaking breaking tops, like asking for people, I'll buy everything tops you've got. Like people just want to churn that shit, rip, grade, sell.
I should have listed a bunch of tops once it went out, just did a big auction, but
yeah.
Quinlan Collectible said, I think people talk about market movement a lot, but not so much about tedious strategic buying, like grabbing up auctions that are extremely below fair market value. The people I talk to definitely talk about that.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. But I would say most people don't. Like most people are impatient, but yeah, I would say most people who are buying with collection goals, I mean, that's what we always talk about. It's buying on under market, right? And that really comes down to either buying someone who's in a liquidity squeeze or buying on auction on a freaking Tuesday ending at 6 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, I want to say I've now had maybe at least 6 people on this channel that just talk about doing the same strategy of just eBay newest listings, Pokemon newest listings, and just did Cool Trainer Ryan talked about it. Like that's how he acquired a lot of his position. Cool Trainer Ryan, Pokemon newest listings. And then PokeRev was on, did the same thing. And then I think as recently as my very last guest I had on live, which was Cam from ZNG Emporium, he even said the same thing. He said, Pokemon newest listings. Like,
I remember that.
so I would definitely say that there are a lot of people that are still doing that. And he's right. Like maybe it is harder. Definitely not impossible. I've recently picked up a few binder collections. Like one of my good search terms is Pokemon lot.
Yep.
Just Pokemon lot, nothing else. I just picked up a couple things just with that search term recently.
I'm a fan of Pokemon.
Pokemon, yep. Yeah, there's always like 147 listings. And I even know like the number of listings when it comes to Pokemon. There's like 100. I bet you could do it right now. There's like a type in Pokemon on eBay. I bet you it's 147 current listings. Like, dude, I know all these search terms.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. I had to switch to a separate inbox because I got just too many saved search emails every day.
Yeah. I got a lot of like certain binder collection search terms, and people have getting even like malicious with their binder term searches. Like they know the right keywords to put in to get people like me to click on. I'm like, one of the things I found crazy about binder collections. So in the past was you could do binder collection searches and buys, and it would literally be somebody's old binder collection. Now there's always one 2021 card thrown in there. Like I'll look, and then you search through, and then it's like Lance's Charizard V from Celebration Box, and it's like, you son of a bitch, you son of a bitch. And then you look at their other auctions, and it's just only PSA graded cards, and then their one binder collection. It's like, I'm on to you. I know this game.
Never buy raw cards from someone who all their other listings are
graded. Or don't buy binder collections from people that have modern cards in that binder collection. Like,
it's so funny, man. It's so
but it's true.
So true.
Ancient Muse said, PK, what's your favorite holo from Fossil? Either the Gengar or obviously the Raichu.
Japanese Mew.
Or Articuno, actually. That's probably up there.
Yeah, mine's got to be the Mew on the Japanese side.
That's one thing's bad that we never got to see that in English, besides the Black Star promo.
Black Star, yeah. What's your favorite Black Star promo?
All right, this is gonna sound super basic, but probably just the Ivy Pikachu Black Star promo #1, just because I was in the Pokemon League at the time. I got that card personally handed to me. I think the last Black Star promo I got in the Pokemon League was the Arcanine. And then I remember like the Ivy Pikachu getting personally, the non-holo Mew I remember getting personally, the Arcanine, the pre-release Aerodactyl I remember getting in person, the first edition pre-release Aerodactyl, the only besides the Machamp first edition from the 2-player starter deck. There's a lot of those pre-release Aerodactyls out there, but those are the 4 I could at least remember getting handed to me. I'm sure maybe there was a couple more thrown in there, but those are the 4 I remember. But I would definitely say the Pikachu is probably #1.
Hell yeah. I like I really like the Dark Persian.
Yeah. Are you a no damage Persian fan?
No damage Persian? Which one's that?
Yeah, so a couple of those Dark Persians, they were handed out in the magazine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, well, they were Nintendo Power, yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo Power magazine, but a couple of them squeaked through with the no damage. I think it's
I think I've seen that now that you say it.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of the no damage Persians. And the guy that actually was supposed to be the editor on Wizard of the Coast in order to get those, I've reached out to him on email twice trying to get him on this channel. and I got 0 responses from him.
Wow.
But I've reached out to that person twice, the guy that was responsible for that no damage dark Persian.
That would be really cool to hear his story.
Yeah.
No HP Persian.
Oh, what did I say? No, I'm thinking no damage nine tails.
I-
Yeah, no
that
HP.
sounds like there's
Sorry,
no-
you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
HP.
yeah, no HP. Yeah.
You say booyah, I just threw it in the chat too.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I remember
It's
that.
definitely no HP. Not no. I don't know why I'm thinking no damage nine tails
Here's the
because
funny.
and I'm gonna tell you why. Because the email I sent to him, I wanted to know about the no damage nine tails.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but yeah, it's the no HP Persian. Yeah. But again, going down the rabbit hole, the niches of the niches, man.
Yeah, you want to collect all those, and then you just hit a real hard stop point on those.
Black Star promos is definitely a very realistic
I guess
like
it
goal.
depends what condition you want it in.
There's the one guy, what's his name? He always has a Snorlax in every single photo.
Good luck getting this in a 10.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah, I had what's that, number 11, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the one he just showed is the EV number 11 Black Star promo, but we had the old card shop on here, and that's like the one card he actually collects is the number 11 Black Star promo EV.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that card. That's one of the best hollows they've ever done. I'm just such a freaking evolutions guy. They're so cool.
But yeah, we got 81 people watching right now. I'm gonna say it for the last time. If any of you guys are not subscribed to Connor Rock Pokemon, hit the pause button right now in the description of this video. If Drew's still in the chat, he'll link the link to Connor's YouTube channel. I definitely recommend you guys hit the pause button, go down below, give him a subscribe. Tomorrow's video, he's doing a pretty spicy video on Modern. I think you guys are all gonna like it. He does a lot of Market Mondays, great chats, smart dude, does his own podcast. So definitely recommend you guys all giving him a sub.
Thanks, man. You gotta come over on the podcast. That'll be super fun.
Oh yeah, anytime, just anytime.
Rob was on DNA's channel, so I gotta catch that too. Rob's a great guy, so we have a lot of fun over there.
So Drew just dropped a link for you YouTube channel. So anybody who's not subscribed to Connor, I definitely recommend you guys just real quick hitting that link, giving a quick subscribe, popping back here, and then you'll have plenty of stuff to watch in the future. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up. This actually ended up being a relatively long live, but it was fun.
Great. This is awesome. Yeah, I it's the beauty of the long weekend. So I have to work tomorrow, but not super early. So this was so fun, man. Thank you for having me. This has been great.
I get Memorial Day off tomorrow too, so that's why I got to go a little longer. But I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always fun catching up with you.
Absolutely. Chat, y'all are legends. Smash the like button. Come on. There's however many you watching. There's only 47 likes. This was great. So thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah, man. If you ever need anything, feel free to reach out. And yeah, everybody give this man a subscribe. Thanks again, Connor.
Thanks, chat. Thanks, PK. See y'all soon.
Later, guys. We'll catch you on the next.